Welcome to Armchair Expert. I'm Dax Shepard. I'm joined by Monica Lily Padman.
Hi.
Hi. Welcome.
Someone on an Armchair Anonymous recently said MVP. I was struck by the big mistake my parents made by not giving my middle name a V.
Veronica.
Yeah, or Victoria.
Yeah, or Vince.
Yeah, I would take it.
Or Victor.
To have MVP.
Monica Victor Padman. Ooh, I like that. That's strong. Victor. For victory. Today's guest is strong.
Yes.
That was an elegant segue.
Yeah, nice.
Olivia Munn is here today. She is an actor and an activist. She was on Newsroom, one of my favorite shows of all time.
Great show.
Magic Mike, The Predator, X-Men Apocalypse, The Daily Show. And she is currently on the hit show on Apple TV Plus. I love this show. I got so sucked in. Your Friends and Neighbors. So check out Your Friends and Neighbors. It's out now on Apple TV Plus. Please enjoy Olivia Munn.
He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert.
Save it for the podcast. I want to know about your
Okay.
Yeah, we need to know about your
issues.
sensitivities.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've heard anyone say I have.
You know someone who does, Kristen.
Oh, no. I know people. I
Guys,
just have
save
never
it.
heard
Save
anyone.
it.
Oh, we're in.
I don't
Now
think
we're
I've
in.
ever heard someone say that at the beginning, which I love. Auditory and
And light
in
sensitivity.
light. So these are sensory issues, right? That's what we call them broadly.
Yeah.
And so tell me what, like bright lights?
Bright lights for sure. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oopsies.
It's specific things. Like if I go into a room and it's really bright, like this is like, it's dark over there, but it's like when it's really bright. Like John does a great impersonation of me that when he did it, I was like, oh yeah, that does sound like me. He opens the door and walks in and goes, oh my God, these lights are so bright. What's going on? You're so crazy. And I like, that's my reaction.
And you make a character assessment at the end of it. You're like,
I'm just like,
and you're
what's
crazy.
wrong with you?
Yes, you would have to be
like, do you need all these lights on? He's like, it's literally just the overhead. In the auditory sensitivity is like certain sounds, and it's always been like that since I was really little. And I was like, a doctor said that to my mom really early. I mean, took me to like a psychiatrist and was like, because I just would really have a hard time with it, and especially in schools where they're all fluorescent lights.
It's uniquely harsh, the elementary school lighting.
Yeah, oh my God.
They don't give a lot of
Malls.
malls.
Which I never understand. Mall lighting is so bad, and it's very fluorescent. And when you're trying on stuff, the lighting's so bad.
Oh,
I've never understood
it doesn't help you
that.
purchase clothes.
Yes.
Like I'm like, if you guys want me to purchase your clothes, like give us some soft lighting.
Perfect
Give me a ring
lighting.
light.
Yeah.
You see how I look.
It's a big flaw in the system.
So Kristen
Yes.
has many of these. The biggest offender is, should there be two different songs playing within earshot of each other?
Of that.
She'll fizz, like she'll short circuit.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
cannot handle that.
It's interesting when you have a partner, I think your knee jerk, because look, we love our partners, but we're also stuck with our partners. We're going to travel hip to hip with them throughout our whole life. So if they're constantly agitated by something, you immediately forecast the rest. I immediately forecast the rest of my life. Well, that's going to happen a lot. Can't you kind of...
Can you overcome
I
this?
think
overcome it?
John, knowing John, he likes it. He likes helping me. He likes that I have a weird thing. He thinks it's very funny. And he also, maybe endearing.
Like he's going to protect you from it, like his male protectiveness comes out?
Yeah, he likes to be protective and of value when it comes to like certain things like making me comfortable or happy.
Yes.
And but also he's just his personality, he finds it very funny.
It's just something for him to work with.
Yes,
Basically, right? It's fodder for some thoughts.
We went on a drive from like New York to Montreal once, and he wanted to put on music. And I was like, no, like, and because I often can like sit in silence, like for hours in a drive. I've started listening to podcasts. Your guys' was the one that got me into listening to podcasts, truly.
That's nice.
That makes me very happy.
Because I love how you guys, so much. And so the it's not just a question, answer. There was like, it's like listening in on somebody's conversation. So I could do that for a very long time, and I could not listen to other people's podcasts. Only sometimes, sometimes what I told you before, there may be like a person on whose voice is hard for me. And I would
Yes.
skip that episode or not listen to you guys for a minute because I was like, okay, kind of got out of the
no.
Now they're
Oh.
inviting these
Yeah.
kind of voices on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, can we pinpoint what it is about their voices?
It
Is
may
it
be
mine?
No,
I'm
I love your
stressed.
voice. No. It's the dynamic between
You
the
couldn't
two of
not
you.
like your voice and
No,
get
yours
through more
is
than
very,
3
you
episodes.
come in very like, hey, so I'm just going to point this thing out.
So you're driving
me again.
everyone
Yeah.
nuts.
For some reason, I can listen to the same song. Like one time I did that drive to Montreal. I have like really close friends there.
Yeah.
And I did the drive. It was like a 4 or 5 hour drive. But I listened to the same song
Mm-hmm.
over and over and over again
I like to do that.
because it feels like comfortable and I know it is.
Do you watch movies over and over again?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is a big anxiety thing.
Yes, it is.
This is Monica's favorite thing is to watch the same
Yeah.
Movie.
film 13, 14 times in like a quarter.
Yeah.
And then we keep seeing all these Instagram
Yes.
psychology tips. And one of them is like, that's super common for people with anxiety.
Well, I have dealt with
Soothing.
a lot of anxiety.
Yeah.
Well, this is what I want to get to. So you wouldn't remember the first time we met, but I do, which was at, I think the Soho House at like a CA type party.
Mhm.
It was like an agency party and I hadn't met you. And you and I just like kind of bumped into each other at the bar. And by my recollection, had an explosive exchange of ideas.
Mhm.
And in that, and I've referenced you many times on here, in that conversation, you were telling me that you had this something trichonemia, whatever it is,
Trichotillomania.
where you would pull your eyebrows,
Eyelashes.
eyelashes.
But trichotillomania is specifically people pulling hair. So it could be hair at the top of your head. Because there's a sensation of, like for me, I don't know, it's probably not even real, but like I'll feel like, oh, this eyelash feels like it's going to come out, or even though it's not. And then when you pull it, there was a quick second of pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's a satisfaction and then immediate regret.
What a short-lived high.
It is.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of hair,
Yeah.
but then it was the first time that I was dating Chris Pine at the time.
Yes.
And
Who we've come to love.
he is amazing. We were recently at like the SNL 50 and we were in the airport lounge together, and it was so great to catch up.
Yeah.
And he's just the best. So there was a paparazzi shot of he and I, and it was the first time I was like in the tabloids. I was on G4 and I was like going to some very small event. It was like for weed. It was some weed thing. I think when it was just trying to be legalized.
To promote it or to stop it? It's use.
Promote it.
Okay.
What side of the aisle are you on?
Yeah.
Oh, I had asked the costume on this daily show I hosted, what is the ugliest dress you have? And they found this like blue old prom dress with big pom-poms on the side.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, wonder if I can make it into the worst best list. Worst best dress list.
Yeah.
Because that would, and then I did. And I couldn't believe it worked. I was like, the fact that I was like, they know who I am to even put me on this
Right.
list.
Yes.
It was very exciting.
Talk about silver lining. Get a worse
Yeah.
dress and be like, yeah, I'm worthy
Yeah.
of
Kind
a
of a
worse
hack.
dress. Yeah, I
Yeah.
like it.
So I had left Chris's apartment. Hopefully, I don't think he'd mind me telling any of the story, but I'd left Chris's apartment and there were paparazzi outside his house because he had been in Star Trek and all this, and
Sure.
I didn't recognize it. And I was carrying this like small, like my wallet was like a little bit bigger. It's like a little kind of wallet clutch. And they caught photos of me.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God. And when it got out, and one of my friends was like, hey, you're dating Chris Pine. And then I did the horrible thing, which was to read the comments.
Sure.
And this is back in the day.
How
So
could you
like,
not?
you don't even know, at the time, you don't know that it's bad.
Yeah.
And they were like, I think she set this up. Look, who's carrying a clutch during the day?
Kind of the clues that they
Yes.
string
And
together.
I was like, that began my trichotillomania. That
was the beginning.
That was the very
I don't
beginning.
know why when we were chatting back at that party that I thought this was maybe a childhood thing, because I was certainly telling you about my tics, I would imagine.
Yeah, we did talk about that.
Yeah, and OCD, you were the one who, and I credit you for this all the time. You go, well, you know what OCD is all about? And I'm like,
Control.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I didn't. I just
Oh,
knew
yeah.
the term OCD.
Well, because other people like to be like, I'm OCD, and they say that in a way of like bragging about how organized and clean they are.
Yes.
That's OCDP, because we had an expert on
really?
it. She
We got
told us.
we got in big trouble on here.
OCD egotistical.
Oh, OCDP. Yeah, the distinction, which is quite interesting,
Yeah.
is if your actions are in alignment with your overall morals, that's not OCD. So like, I'm a neat freak. You think being neat is the correct way to do it. You think being clean is godly. So that's not OCD. OCD is like, you have a compulsion to do things that you are not in alignment with who you are.
Procrastination is really connected to OCD, and OCD has a lot of connections to hoarders. So when you've ever watched that show Hoarders, there will be like one cabinet or one area that still looks really perfect.
Oh.
Does that because that's who I really am? That's what I'm heading towards?
Yes. It's kind of like, it's kind of saying to yourself and saying to others like, no, I'm really organized here. Realizing that connection made me stop myself from living like that. And so I would like work really hard to clean it up. Now, having children, it's impossible.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's truly impossible. The other day, I cleaned up everything while John was out with Malcolm, and I'm not exaggerating, within 10 minutes, it was a mess again.
Yeah.
And that was hard for me at first because I felt like a failure as a mother and as like someone who's supposed to take care of their home.
Yeah, your nest is a mess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then I just was like, no, this just means a life well lived.
They're here to teach you these last lessons that were impossible to learn. So my big thing is like maintenance. You should be a good steward of the things you have. If you're lucky enough to have them, they should be in good condition. And just within 2 years, every single thing in the house is destroyed. And then you have to go, which is lovely. Oh yeah, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter at all. What matters is that these kids had a blast growing up in this house. And if I kept it perfect and nothing was damaged, that would just be a different kind of childhood. That trade-off's not worth it.
The thing that I focus on is I want him to take physical risks and be brave. And I know you know that because your daughters were like on motorcycles, like so young. Yeah. And it was hard at first to convince John because John's family, they just didn't do anything like that. You know, like the really low beams at the park that's literally like 6 inches off the ground.
Right.
He'd be like, Malcolm, come on, let's get off of that. I'm like, what? One time Malcolm walked up the slide backwards, you know, or like the bottom to the top.
The correct way.
We all have done. He goes, hey, Malcolm, we don't go up the slide like that.
But is that about rules? That almost sounds more about rules than about
No, I think it's for safety.
Really?
Like John is really big on he was really big on safety.
Yeah.
They can be complementary. Like one is for decorum, but it also is decorum is generally safer.
Right.
And the whole thing is safer.
But also he does like so we both grew up with a lot of rules. My mom was a very strict tiger mom. My stepfather was in the military. John's parents are you know, they're both baby boomers generation. And they're all like, they kept their home really organized, like I think emotionally and like with a schedule. And John says that like his friends would always kind of feel safe there because there was the structure, even though he had another friend who he would just go to their apartment and just do the craziest shit.
Yeah, no one cared what time he came home. Yeah.
So he felt a lot of safety in that. So I think that he also likes doing that. But then, I've had to talk to him about that. And I had heard something. And when I say I've heard something, it means something came up on my Instagram.
Sure.
John says, I'm like, so I heard this psychiatrist, or this psychiatrist told me. And he's like, where did you hear it? Did you go to a psychiatrist? I'm like, yeah, it was like, you know, yes, IG. But it said something like it was important for fathers to show, to really show like physical risks and physical capabilities.
Our job is play.
Yes.
Exactly.
Because it makes them feel more brave and confident in their own skills. But, you know, I grew up doing martial arts.
Taekwondo
And cheerleading.
Oh.
And
I love it.
I know. When I heard you were a cheerleader early on, I was like, oh, I feel like, I know it's people might think it's silly, but I know a little bit about how you grew up.
It's a common language.
Yes, exactly.
I think you could say that, about like anyone that was a ballerina, like, ooh, you know that life. That's a certain kind of life.
Right.
But I think people on the outside of cheerleading don't understand. Like, we do all know about ballerinas, but not everyone knows about cheerleaders.
Right.
Yeah.
They should watch Cheer.
Great show. Were you competition cheerleader or?
Yeah. Well, I was high school cheerleading, but we competed in Japan. We competed in like all of Far East Asia.
Wow.
So there's big competitions, and I tried out my 9th grade year, and usually 9th graders almost always make JV, but I had made varsity that year.
Nice.
I had moved to this new school in Japan like a few years before, and I had a really hard time assimilating.
Was it an expat school or was it all Japanese
It's a military
kids?
school.
Oh, right. So a lot of,
But there was but we compete with all the Japanese schools too and like different schools.
Can we beat them at anything?
Well, we beat them eventually.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
So,
wow.
So I was like, I had no friends and it was really hard.
Yeah.
And it was like 8th grade and I would look at people who had a lot of friends and the cheerleaders did. So I went to the library. I got a book on cheerleading and how to cheerlead, and it taught you how to do like a herky and like,
Oh
like,
my God.
There's a book on it.
yeah.
I'm surprised you didn't do that. That sounds very you.
It does sound like
Yeah.
me.
Read in
but
your
I didn't.
garage,
I would
practice
feel
in
like I
your-
should write one.
Oh, you should. That'd
Yeah.
be so cute. And then I tried out and I made varsity.
Wow.
And varsity goes and competes. And our first year we got 3rd place.
Okay.
And the second year we got 1st place. And it was
Yeah,
a big
girl.
upset. And we went up against this, we were like toe to toe with this other school that we had already heard was like the tough school. And they were like, they were another military school. They weren't they weren't one of the Japanese
Okay.
or Guam schools.
Because I don't know if this is racist, but when I think Japanese, I think synchronization is going to be, they're going to be able to nail synchronization.
Yeah, and work ethic.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. They got a lot of qualities that would lend
Probably
themselves to.
tumbling.
And they're lighter, so then
Yes.
tumbling or throwing them into
Okay.
air was
Yeah.
Sure.
much better. But one of the girls came from America, like that same year, and she had been a cheerleader there, and they were incorporating like dance,
Hip hoppy.
hip hoppy.
Yeah,
So
girl.
she brought
the fun.
she brought the music, and nobody else. Everybody else had the regular cheers, and so we had this element. But this cheer team we had already heard was like tough and like tough in a way that like a little bit more street. And so they didn't mind fighting.
Oh, wow.
And our cheerleading coach, after we won, we were so excited. She goes, "We're ordering pizza and staying inside because we've already gotten word that they're on the streets looking for you."
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
This is like a football team.
Yeah.
This is exciting.
Yeah. And then it was like they were looking for us. And so we stayed inside and celebrated. But yeah, it was a big deal.
Well, we've jumped to one of the more exotic chapters of your life, which is living in Japan. But let's start in Oklahoma. Your mother comes to Oklahoma in 1975.
This is the 50th anniversary of her fleeing Saigon this year.
Her own story is quite interesting, right? In that she is Chinese ethnically, but lived in Vietnam.
Yeah, we're Chinese. We have a little bit of Vietnamese in our bloodline, but yeah, there was a big Chinatown in Saigon.
Okay.
And like what happens in most war-torn countries, missionaries come and spread the word of God. And,
Yeah.
And so then they had met the head of a Christian university, and they had sponsored them to come to America.
Okay.
And it was my grandmother and her 9 children.
Was she the first to be Christian in her family?
So none of them were Christian.
They just played the game.
Yeah, they played the game.
I did too, to go to Cedar Point in
Oh,
junior
yeah?
high. Yeah, I went to a couple youth meetings just to go on the Cedar Point trip.
Well, my uncles, I have twin uncles, and they loved David Hasselhoff.
Oh, sure.
And they saved enough money, and they were able to bring money and snuck money in from Vietnam. And so they were able to buy like a Trans Am and a Corvette.
Did they too come to Oklahoma?
They all came into Oklahoma.
Okay.
They loved growing their hair out long, like David Hasselhoff.
I love
and
these guys.
Yeah.
Fucking vets and trans.
And they
long hair.
also
They smoke cigarettes?
no.
Oh, bummer.
But they all were they all did bodybuilding competitions.
Oh my God, I love them. What are their names? Uncle what and what?
Ty and
Okay.
Fu.
Ty and Fu. My bros
Yeah.
Ty and Fu are coming over. We're gonna
I
fucking
know.
bang some
And they had
legs.
like these sepia colored photos of them like oiled up and just jacked and like standing like
Send me those. I
will.
wouldn't mind.
I'll ask
Please
that.
do.
I would love to send you those.
Is that because that was like what America was to them?
Yeah.
It's what it represented.
That's why I like it so much. I
masculine.
love the fantasy of being somewhere else, and you look at this other place that was on TV, and it's a fake version of the
Yes.
place, but you actually come in and act the fake version, which
Yes.
is great. It's like talk about creating your own reality. I love it
So then
Yeah.
they start going to church.
because that's where the ass is.
Well,
or-
at the Christian university too. Yeah.
Well, they owed Jesus. They got
Yeah.
to, you know.
And so now they're at this Christian university and they got to go to church all the time. And then the president of the Christian university said, "Hey, you need to be more clean cut. You know, you need to cut your hair."
Oh.
And that was like a big no-no for them. And they're just so smart and clever. And they went and they found a picture of Jesus Christ with his long ass hair.
Sure.
Yeah.
sure.
And they showed it to her and they said, "Well," and then she let them keep
Ah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good counter. When you can bring in the top dog.
Yeah, there's
You know,
no
top
topper dog.
has long hair.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're like, I don't know. I'm supposed
Yeah,
to
it's
be living
awfully
in
hypocritical to say cut your hair.
Didn't
Yeah.
he create us in his image? Isn't that the premise of this whole thing?
Yeah.
Exactly.
How does your mom meet your dad, Winston?
She was introduced to him through a mutual friend.
Did she already speak English in
Yeah, they had been learning English.
Okay.
So Saigon was a very wealthy city. That's
Yeah.
why you'll meet a lot of Vietnamese people who are here. They'll tell you stories about how their family was so wealthy, which is, I think, why a lot of, there was an invasion. And
Yes.
so they go to schools where, wealthy schools would teach English and Vietnamese and
In
Chinese.
French,
And
too?
French. Yeah, my uncles speak French.
How old was your mom when she came here?
20. Yeah.
Okay, 20. Okay.
There's a halcyon moment in Saigon where it's like a very sexy, cool, thriving city
Oh, yeah.
that's very French.
Of course.
In the early 70s. Like the Montreal of
Yeah, the
of
Montreal
Asia.
of Asia. Yeah. I mean, they loved it there, which is what's so incredible about my family and my mother is that on that day 50 years ago, they got onto a ship and left the only country and home they ever knew, and they were never going to come back. My grandfather stayed back because he was going to dig up his gold. So back then they would bury all their stuff.
Sure, smart.
And sometimes they'd bury them with people who passed away and are buried into their caskets to like
so
hide.
now you got to do a little grave robbing. to
Yeah.
get your
So
gold
he,
back.
so he was like, I got to go get my gold. I'll
Sure.
see you there. And then they got a letter however much time later that he had passed. Yeah. So he never got to come over.
There's a fable in there.
Yeah.
Sticking around for gold and missing your family. Trading your family
That
for
it's
gold.
better.
That's advice. I'm sure he was
Worked
having a
out.
raucous time.
But why'd they leave?
Because Saigon was invaded. There was like this great documentary called like The Last Days of Saigon or Final Days of Saigon.
Because the
or something.
agrarian revolution was certainly going to take out all the people that were landowners or had been wealthy. They were enemy number one of
It was not safe.
of Ho Chi Minh.
Yeah.
And there's 5 of you.
So my mom married my husband. Sorry.
No, hold on right now.
Can I tell you?
Because that's really everything. I
That
think.
was so Freudian.
Well, I'll tell
Because
you.
you're
that-
referring to the second husband, right? In that moment where you think,
Well, no. I will not refer to any of them. You know what I think is? My mom is so close with John. It is his best friend. When I went through surgery and all the surgeries for breast cancer, I was like, my mom was like, I'm going to come and help you. But my mom drives me crazy.
yes.
And she's
your mom.
is always on YouTube on her phone, listening on full volume, which I can tell you is so hard for me. And so many times like, Mom, can you just turn it down?
The
Like it's
aforementioned
really, really
auditory.
difficult. So she shuffles away to her bedroom. And you know what she does? My daughter, who's 8 months old, she like when she was like really young, when it's brand new into the world, she'd be holding her
Brand
while
new
she's
brain.
asleep. And she has on her leg full volume YouTube Vietnamese news. And when I say news, I mean it's just a guy talking
Yeah.
about what he's read.
What he saw on Instagram that day.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly.
I interviewed a doctor today. I saw it in my feed.
Yeah.
Seems like you can't really throw stones though, since all you get your
No, I didn't say I didn't believe him. So then my mom was wanting to come, and I said, I don't need her to come. Do you want her? And John said, yes.
Yeah.
And they hang out. John makes a list, an actual like paper to pen list of all the movies he wants to watch with my mom.
Aww.
They watch
That's so
everything. He
cute.
loves her. They hang out. They're cackling.
Do you think you'll ever walk in and they'll be kissing?
But they're often on the couch watching a Korean movie, sharing the same blanket.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh,
And they
this is
probably
so
like to
cute.
commiserate about you too, because I like to do this with Kristen's dad. And it can be positive, but there's a fun dynamic with like, you made this girl. I'm now with her forever. There's a lot of fertile ground for us there.
So when I had Malcolm,
Yeah.
I couldn't produce breast milk. I could do like a bottle a day, not even. And so I had spent all this time pumping, and I put it on the counter because you're supposed to keep it room temperature, because you can use it, within a certain amount of time. So I come over and I look, and I'm like, Mom, where's my breast milk? And she's like, has that look on her face, like, ugh. And I went, what? What did you do? And she goes, I thought it was to be thrown away, so I threw it away.
Oh,
and
no.
I went like, Mom, I can't believe, I did that thing that you talk to your mom. Like, Mom, what? I can't believe you did that. I'm so angry at you. You have no idea. Start crying. And I'm like, this is everything. And it takes me all day long. And now, and this is the only way I bond with Malcolm. And then she looks at me and goes, John threw away the dog food. And I was like, what? And I got like, just food for dogs or just for, and so it's like this gourmet dog food that has to be in the refrigerator. And
I know all about it.
And she just threw him under the bus. And then another time, she disappointed me and made me mad about something. And then she went to John and said, hey, Olivia's mad at me. She told you to put on the humidifier. I noticed you didn't put on humidifier. So when I pointed out to Olivia, just know you are in trouble.
She's like being forthcoming that I'm going to tell on you.
And then John came up to me and said, hey, your mom said this, so I need you to really act like you're so mad so that she ends up feeling bad. So then John does it. And I'm like, I cannot believe you. There's only a few things I asked for you to do. And I just just reamed into him. And we look over at my mom and she's like this.
She loved it.
She's
It did not faze her.
It happened exactly the way she wanted it to.
So, but John loves it. Again, he likes the weird things in people.
I appreciate that about him.
We're so similar. I talk to my mom like that. My mom also watches YouTube constantly, and it drives me nuts.
I know. I've always thought that you and I'd be very good friends. I've listened to this a lot.
Very similar.
I've always wanted us to run into each other, but it hasn't happened.
Monica will scream from her bedroom, Mom, I want a sandwich.
No. Not currently, but I did used to do that. And then now it's so seeped into her. It's like Stockholm syndrome. When I arrive, she's like, here's your sandwich. She just knows.
Trying to head off.
Yeah.
She was trying to be ahead of the pain.
Yeah. My mom cooks a lot. She cooks for John all the time. She'll text him and be like, what do you want for dinner?
It's a love language.
I could see being really charmed by a mother-in-law like you're offering. I think that would be fun. But so mom and dad met, and then are you the only child out of that union?
No, there was first my sister.
Okay.
And then.
How much older?
She's 2 years older.
Okay.
And when I was 6 months old, my mom discovered my dad was cheating on her. She had she had taken his suit jacket to the dry cleaners and was emptying the pockets and found 2 movie ticket stubs.
Oh, this is very movie-esque.
Yeah.
It's also very 80s.
It is.
Yeah.
2 movies, ticket stubs. She found a receipt for a taxi cab. He never drove in a taxi cab.
Yeah. And so to his credit, he admitted it.
Yeah.
And then she kicked him out. And it was with a woman he played bridge with at this bridge, like this big bridge.
Very sexy.
Yeah.
Bridge is
Very
super sexy.
sexy.
Yeah.
A year and a half later, she marries the next guy.
Oh, so they were done
so
forever.
no second chance. That's it. Hard line in the sand. There may be more going on.
No, he called her and begged her to come back.
Okay.
And she did. And then as she tells me, there was one night where she can hear him crying in bed. And she's like, what are you crying about? And he's like, I just miss her. So my mom was like, and he was like, I miss her and I'm confused and I don't know what to do. And she was like, that's done.
This.
That's a done deal.
I mean, I hate that this is my takeaway, but a part of me is like, why didn't he just lie? Not about the first one, but about the crying.
Yeah.
You could be crying about anything.
You could be feeling guilty.
Because at that point, you want to be, there's a point you want to be caught, right?
Yeah.
And maybe he was evaluating whether he wanted to be with the bridge lady or your mom.
The bridge lady.
I think a lot
Bridge
of,
babe.
I think there are quite a few people who, and I think it's predominantly men that I've experienced and seen in my lifetime that can't deal with the guilt of ending the relationship. So they want to do something where you say, I'm done.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's right. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess that, I think that's more of a guy's move. And also to just kind of detach, stonewall, hope that the woman finally goes, this is not fulfilling.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
So the next guy, okay, now here's another bonding moment for us. So my first stepdad showed up around 4, or maybe they started dating when I was 4 and they were married at 5 or something. I'm not a fan of the first.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
Tell me about this dude.
Just a bad guy. He was
Air Force.
And really abusive.
Yeah.
And lived with a lot of fear. Like, I realized later in life that I was creating a lot of issues in relationships, and I would be quick to fight because my equilibrium was very off. So like I realized at that time, like everyone has anxiety on a level 1 to 10. Like 1 being I'm gonna be late for work, where are my keys? And 10 being my entire family is burning alive in a house and I can't get them out.
Yeah.
Mine was a consistent 9.
Yeah.
And so as I go into life, like that's like something that could bother me as a 1 or 2 is like super high up on that anxiety list. And I would just create these fights because it felt normal.
Yes.
And then it took me a long time to actively be like, I'm not, every time it would come up, I'm like, I can't do that. I can't do that.
Yeah.
And it was just a really bad time in my life. I mean, there was this one time where I had decided that I'm not going to talk to him anymore.
Right. What age do you think this was?
This was at 15.
Okay.
I also had to call him dad early.
Ew.
Like I had to. It was like
one
you
of those
had to.
things.
It is one of those things. You get
It's a
it.
control.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a control mechanism.
Titles are
do
really
we
hard
dare
for me.
tackle this? This is very dangerous, but I'm going to just be dead honest. I can imagine, especially in the 70s and 80s, white dudes having an idea of what an Asian immigrant woman's going to be, which is going to be very subservient, and I'm going to be the boss, and getting into the relationship. And no relationship's ultimately like that, even if on the outside appearance it has that flavor. Do you think there's any validity to that?
Yeah, well, his first wife was Chinese.
Okay.
And they had 2 children together who just happened to be the same age as my sister and I, like very Brady Bunches.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
And my mom and his first wife definitely fell into that, the stereotype of
subservience.
Yeah.
By the way, what a fucking gross thing to desire. Just
I know.
I
To have somebody just like wait on you.
Yeah, I want someone to be subservient.
And it's not my mom's, it's not my mom. My stepfather, her second husband, my current stepfather is amazing. And it was the first time when I was 16, it's the first time I got to see my mother in control. But yeah, I had to call him dad and I hated that. It's why also, it's a small thing, but when you have friends and you have kids and they're like, and like, if when you're close to them, you're like, hey, it's your Uncle Dax. It's just your friend. Because I do not like that.
Yeah.
I do not like when you call somebody an aunt or an uncle who is not blood.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Or like they have godparents. And we call them like Uncle Kevin and Auntie Stevie. And that's it.
That's where it ends.
Yes. And I had friends who'd be like, I'm your auntie, whatever. And then, or John will introduce one of his friends and be like, this is your uncle. And I don't say it, but I don't like
You don't like it. Now, how do you feel about this? This is the dynamic that's happening in my house, which is my best friend, Aaron Weekly, who's here, is my son. He's called me dad since we were 12.
Okay.
And so he's my daughter's brother. And they call him
like
their brother,
emotionally,
Aaron.
Not actually.
Emotionally, yes.
Well, yeah, physiologically, he can't be my child because I'm only 6 months older.
That doesn't bother me.
Okay, good. So their brother is 49, about to turn 50.
But I agree with that. I also feel on the opposite end as someone who is like a aunt-like figure in many kids' lives. I don't like being referred to as an aunt when I'm not their actual aunt.
Yes.
Oh,
you get it.
Yeah, I'm like, that's not the right word.
To his kids, are you like to Delta and
Well, we have
Lincoln?
other word, like I'm her soulmate.
Well, that is extreme, by the way.
And we are.
Wait,
are
you're to Kristen's soulmate or the children's?
Delta. Delta's my soulmate.
Well, Delta is very
soulmatey.
Very, yes.
Because I started working with them when Delta was 3 months old and I was taking care of her. And she is my soulmate.
Well, I'm happy that you found your soulmate.
I know. But yeah, aunt wouldn't work, and for Lincoln too. Like it's just not the right word. But I don't really know what the right word is.
Yeah, I dated somebody who was Filipino, and he would. In Filipino culture, there was always like auntie and uncle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Same with the Indians.
Yes.
Yeah. And I'd be like, what? Like, is it real? I have to be like, give blood? And like, no. But like, and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
I want to know,
You were
blood or
triggered.
not. I was triggered.
What is the reality I'm living in? Is that a blood relative?
Yeah, it makes a difference.
Okay,
though.
so this dude, though, he first took you guys to Utah. And you were in Utah for what, maybe 3 or 4 years or something?
it's 3 years at Hill Air Force Base in Utah.
But were you sad to leave Oklahoma? Did you pine for it?
So my grandmother and grandfather, my dad's parents were like the kindest people. My grandmother is the kindest person you'd ever meet.
Yes.
And they were with us all the time. My mom loved them. They loved my mom, and they took care of us a lot.
Yeah.
And so leaving that was really scary and made me sad. And by that point, so the first time we were there was in kindergarten. So we went really young, and I already had a big fear. The abuse had started, and I was already really fearful.
Yeah.
So being there away from my grandparents, the people who kept me safe, and I noticed that, my mother wasn't, she felt, I think that she didn't feel that she had the power to do anything. My
mother, when I asked her how she could have been with that dude, she was driven almost solely by the shame of, there's no way I can fail at this a second time.
Right.
Like that was such a powerful force in her.
And I think that when she had 2 children, there was this feeling of like, how do I support them?
Yeah.
And so being married to someone that, has a steady income was, important. And so, it was so far back, but I remember it clear as day. There was this one time, to give an example. One time we got a sled. All the kids got a sled for Christmas, and we were in Utah where it snows a lot. And my older brother, Jimmy, who was just one of those kids that, parents probably get annoyed with. And he was like, my stepdad was like, I made this for you guys. It took me all this time to make it. And Jimmy was looking and he goes, you didn't make this. And he's like, yes, I did. And he looks again. He's looking around. He goes, you didn't make this. And then he beat the shit out of him that day on Christmas Day.
He didn't make it, did he? Did he make it?
No.
Yeah.
He didn't make it.
He wanted to be a man's man who makes things.
Yeah, there was just he couldn't have done that. Jimmy knew him enough. We all knew, like there was no shed for him to there was no area there he made this at. I felt powerless.
Yeah.
And that became the point in my life where I became such a fighter and so long. And going back to the story of when I had decided to stop calling him dad or talking to him at all.
Yeah.
When I was 15, I had done it for a while. And then finally I was walking up the stairs and he was walking down the stairs. And I just kept looking down at the stairs, and he stops me and he says, I'm sick and tired of you not talking to me. And then I looked at him, I rolled my eyes and kept walking, and he grabs me and he turns me around and he slaps me so hard that my head hit one of the framed family photos that went up along the staircase and cut my eye. And I remember looking at him with tears coming down, but not sad tears, but pain tears, and then just rolled my eyes again. And he had this look of what the fuck?
Well, I know what the look is. Oh, I'm going to have to kill her to dominate her.
Yeah. And there was this, and it was so piercing, but mine was piercing back to him.
Right.
That solidified for me that there's a lot of power in fighting back.
Yeah, right.
And so in my life, I would fight back a lot, sometimes to my own detriment.
Same.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Well, it's hard to remember you're not a kid.
I mean, yeah.
You'll be an adult and you realize, oh, I'm behaving as if I'm 15. I have no choice over my surrounding and who I'm around. But then I go, oh, no, I have to.
Well, because, memories don't know time.
Right,
yes.
right.
So when something happens to you, you go right back to being 8 years old. You go right back to being 15. And the reactions that you had then feel, applicable to what you're going through in that moment.
Well, and they were required and saved you and needed. And then, at some point, they're probably not needed. But if you have been afraid of someone, there's nothing quite as satisfying as having been afraid of somebody for a very long time and then getting to the point where you declare you're no longer afraid of them. Or even, I don't mind what the outcome of this is.
I was always someone who, I think I was just born like this. I just always wanted to fight back.
Do you have an obsession with justice?
Obsessed with justice.
Yeah.
What's right is right. What's wrong is wrong. And when people get it wrong, it's so difficult for me. It is, and especially when it happens personally. I remember working on a show, and one of the other actors was telling me something that they thought was really unfair, and I would go and speak to the top guy, and I'd be like, "Hey, this is happening," and it wasn't even my fight,
right?
And then I would kind of get like chastised for it or whatever, and then he would do it again, and then I think by the third time or so, I realized that he wasn't doing it, and I thought, oh, and that's had a big, I didn't realize that about myself, that I just felt the need to do it. And I thought, oh, he's abusing this.
Yeah.
He knows that I will get it done, but he doesn't
have to take the fall or any of it. Yes.
And so that's where the justice thing has also like bit me in the ass.
Yeah, me too.
Mm-hmm.
Big time sheriffs all over the place here.
Mm-hmm.
Additionally, we're wrong a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We're all wrong a lot. Or it's 60% unjust and it's 40% just. And if I try on their glasses, I go, oh, I see why they acted like this.
Yeah.
Because I think within the sense of justice, you have to also be doing a lot of character assessment, and you do a lot of contribution error syndrome. Like you make some kind of decisions about who they are, which explains this injustice. And then now we're like in judgment and all these other things.
Well, so one thing, like whenever a friend asks me for advice, the first thing I ask is, well, what is it you want? Like, let's just get to that part, and then we can like backtrack from there. But what is it you want? And it always begins with understanding and sensitivity to the other person.
Yeah.
Given that was the environment you were living in, what kind of kid were you on all the rungs? And then we moved back to Oklahoma for junior and senior year, which sounds like quite an endeavor if you've been in Japan for the last, 10 years or 7 years.
Yeah, it was hard.
Yeah. So where were you at in the social hierarchy? What was your position? Because I'm going to say a lot of super gorgeous people will say they were wallflowers in high school. And I know it's very hard to believe for most people.
Yeah,
I think.
was not a wallflower. And I was never like an ugly duckling.
Yeah.
When I got to school, at this point, and I think it's probably the abuse that had happened to me growing up, I loved Disney, and I wanted to almost feel like childlike.
Right.
But I was also grown up. So like that's in my head. So I would buy like a button-up shirt that had the whole Disney gang coming out the side. Like,
cool. Yeah,
cool
look.
It was it was mature.
Yeah.
And I got to this school, and there were some boys that noticed me, and that brought down the ire of the women, the girls.
Yeah, you were the new gal, and all the guys were interested, and so they were like, "Who's this
not
bitch?"
all the guys, but like
Enough
one of
of
the
them.
popular guys,
Yeah.
or two.
Yeah.
That's all you need too to really shake things up in a school.
And I was like getting letters like, "You're a slut, you're this, you're that," and it was really, really difficult for me, and it got to a place where I started wearing baggy clothes. My sister had like a Metallica shirt. I go, this is cool. Like no one will think that, like they're going to think that I'm into this stuff and I'm tough.
Right.
But the thing is, I was pretty tough. I was doing martial arts since I was like 4.
Yeah.
And I have older siblings.
Right.
So I was like that was the 4th of 5. So I was fighting with them a lot, and we got physical. And I, at this point, was eating lunch by myself outside. And then they all came up to me, and I was sitting in this like outdoor area where there's like these cement steps, and I was sitting on the steps, and here they walk up, like 5 or 6 of them. And they were like, "We think you're a slut." And I was like, "Why do you think that? What have I ever done? I've never even kissed a boy at this point. Like, what are you talking about?"
We must have different definitions of slut.
Yeah. And then they just reamed me over it.
Yeah.
And then finally, I was just so tired of it. I got up, put my lunch down, I got up, and I said, "Let's go." And they're like, "Go where?" And I was like, "Let's fight."
Yeah.
And they were like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "It's going to be hard unless you guys come on one-on-one. So I'd prefer one-on-one.
Yeah.
But let's go." And just that confidence. And I literally, it's so embarrassing when I think about it now, but I got into my karate stance.
Oh, good for you.
Very like karate kid where they're like, "Let's go."
Yeah.
And I was just ready to to grapple.
battle, sure.
And then they stopped and turned away.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until the next year when I was like varsity cheerleader and homecoming princess, and it really turned it around.
Yeah.
And they wrote me a letter saying sorry for everything.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
See, here's the problem. You get rewarded for these moments, as I have.
Yeah. And then you
start, I like that about myself.
Of course. It solidifies what your choices were effective.
Yeah.
Yep. And then that somehow is now stitched into your identity. And then now, weirdly, for me, you're manifesting those situations. I was manifesting those situations because I like it about myself.
Yeah.
I don't back down, or I don't, I stand up for people, or And then that's just a dangerous road to be on, where my identity is kind of dependent on me proving my bravery a lot.
Yeah. Well, also what has happened to me is when I've needed to advocate for myself or speak up for myself or try to correct a narrative, that thing comes up in me, which is the negative things that my stepfather would say. That became, even though I was like, if you were to ask me, I was like, no, as a kid, I fought back. And you can't say that to a kid without them thinking that. And you can't, abuse a kid without them thinking that they're worthless.
Exactly.
Yes.
And you can't see your mother powerless without you feeling also powerless. So I felt really powerful for other people. If I was part of an overarching theme, like Asian hate or the Me Too movement, things like that, I'm like, yes, I can do this. But if it's me personally, the feeling of worthlessness.
And when you're fighting on behalf of other people, you can see things a little more objectively, I think. And when it's you, it's easy to say like, well, maybe they're right. Maybe whatever they're saying that's like, is wrong, but like, are they wrong? Like, it just starts this chatter.
But the truth is, I always wanted and I still do, I want to defend myself against things.
This runs the risk of offending you, and I hope it doesn't. I think I see in you a similarity that I have. When I started getting attention from like high status girls, and they were generally older than me, there's never been a sweeter nectar to me than the approval of the opposite sex if they're
High status.
Do you have that at all?
It would be the opposite. It would be
the opposite.
Getting the respect from women or people my same age, older women that I respect, because those are the people who targeted me.
Okay, that makes more sense. But you were smart. You got great grades, presumably.
Yeah, I worked hard to get the grades. Yeah. Well, mostly because my siblings are very, very, very smart. My sister's partner for law firm. My younger brother just became a physicist in France.
Oh, wow.
And they're just brilliant. And I just was not like that with them. And so because I had a stepsister who's the same age as me, she would always be in every honors class, every AP class. And so my mom would be like, well, you have to.
What's going on?
And especially being Asian, she's like, you have to.
What a shameful event.
So I worked really, really hard, and I got really good at cheating.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like
good.
really good.
I wouldn't suspect you, so that's
me either.
good.
Yeah, it's a good twist.
Well, the energy that it took for me to come up with my own way to cheat, I could have learned the stuff.
Sure.
Like I came up with a whole alphabet of dashes and dots.
Oh.
And I would put it like especially for math formulations. And I would put it on the chalkboard when the like in between classes when the teacher had like gone for a break or something. And so that I would literally be able to read the dashes.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is far more complicated than
because that is what an equation is. It's just like symbols basically.
Representing quantities.
Yeah.
But I couldn't remember it. I had to look at it. Again, I'm putting myself into a high stress situation.
Which you like.
Which felt comfortable. I didn't like it, but it's what I
felt
think
at home there.
I think unconsciously I just kept doing that.
I like chaos to some degree.
I mean, John and I will happily gossip about other people's chaos. We're just like, oh my God, oh my God. And then we one time we were doing that drive from Montreal and he goes, okay, let's crisis PR this couple. And we spent the whole time and it was so much fun. And then sometimes something will come up in the press about them. I'm like, what do you think? And he was like, I mean, we already worked it out, and I think that they have no path forward. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? He's like, they can keep doing this, but it's not going to help them. Yeah.
Oh
So
my God. Do you watch Couples Therapy?
I love that show.
It's the best.
I wish they did it all the
Me
time,
too.
year round.
Yeah.
People need therapy year
I
round.
know.
And it's interesting because some people, you're like it's so obvious, like what they're doing. And you're like, and you're like, oh my God, can you not see this?
Yeah, like the narcissist.
But then you have to go, and
Yeah.
it's so obvious what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Which is like
yeah.
the humiliating part of watching that show, which I love, is like, and so are you. And so is everyone.
Participating in
Yeah.
the cycle.
Yeah, they're
So
like, there's some
wild.
unavoidable patterns.
I was with a therapist once where I'm like, and then like, what am I supposed to do? And he's like, well, what do you think you're supposed to do? And I'm like, every time. And I'm like, finally, I was like, no, you are the expert. You tell me what to do.
Yes, that's why I'm paying you.
And they would just be like, no, but this is your journey. I'm like, my journey brought me to your fucking couch.
Yeah, my journey wants answers.
Yeah.
I want some
And then finally
tools.
I found one who would doesn't tell me what to do, but gives me the scenarios. Like, you could do this, this, or this.
Yeah.
Yes.
But don't you think this is representative out of that space? It transcends the therapy space. You've been on, especially I'd imagine, like the Newsroom. 3 seasons, you have a bunch of different directors come through, and you're in the makeup trailer, and you're talking about who likes the director and who doesn't. And this was my experience on Parenthood, and there's so many of us to hear from. And it's like, oh yeah, there's no way to direct people. There's like, every time a new director comes in, 8 of us love the person, 4 people hate the person. And, there's someone that's the perfect therapy for.
On the Newsroom, specifically with the directors coming in and out, there was a director. So first season, I got a lot of love for my performance on that. And
I loved you on it.
thank you.
Yeah, I love
means
that
a
show
lot.
so much.
That means so much.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love that show so much.
And I was happy for you, because I think we also have a similar pattern of coming out of like reality in brackets, having a chip on my shoulder. Do you, what's it like to act? I'm like, I was acting, I'm punked,
Okay, yeah, I was a host.
And I think you always have that tiny.
And when I went to The Daily Show, which was a huge jump for me to go to have Jon Stewart give me that call, that was acting too.
Yeah.
But on the Newsroom, there's a director that came in. And so second season, I had realized, because a lot of the directors were doing this, they kind of focus on me, even though I'm like, I got such great response. Like, what are you fucking with me for?
Right.
But my interpretation was that they wanted to come in and have a say, like be like, oh, I'm working with this person and I'm going to kind of put my little imprint on this character. And there was one director who came in multiple times. And there was a storyline where my character and Tom Sadowski's character are, dating and falling in love.
Yeah.
He kept trying to force me to carry that storyline only on my side. Like, I'm in the middle of working and I've got this new Bloomberg machine and I'm so excited. And he's like, can you look at him and smile? And I'm like, why? She's busy doing this. Or can you stop and can you kind of snuggle up to him or flirt with him, or can you give him a kiss? And I'm like, this is in the middle of working. There was one time where my character finds out that he's done insider trading with some information I got him. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? This is insane. And they were like, I don't think that you're that angry with him. It's kind of funny.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Insider trading is kind of funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just
FTC
fought back so much. And then it got to this place where there was one scene and I was like, no, I'm not. And he said, look, it's my job as a director to see all the different colors of the rainbow. And you are looking at only one color. And I don't think you realize how you're coming off. And I said, how am I coming off? And he said, really forceful and strong. And I said, great, that's what I wanted. And walked away.
Yeah.
And then I got a knock on my trailer from one of the producers. And they said, hey, I see that there's an issue. And I've heard from the director there's a bit of an issue and you guys are kind of butting heads. And I was like, this is what's going on. Why am I being
go talk to him.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, I was happy with what I did instead, because I would have been the one. People would have been like, oh, look at her character. Look how she's playing it. They wouldn't even care if I even said it was him. So I just stayed to my convictions. And then afterwards, I did another movie or I was on the 1 yard line for the movie, sorry. And my manager calls me and says, hey, you're gonna get the role, but first, I guess there's another director who they know. And he says that on the Newsroom, you were late all the time and really combative.
Oh, he threw late
my
in.
God.
I lived,
Added a little sprinkle.
Yeah.
it was just at Sunset Gower. I lived 7 minutes from there. I was never late.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know who this is.
Yeah.
I know who this is. And he just was trying to bash me. And I told my reps, please tell the directors this.
Yeah.
And then I still got the role. But I will always remember that he, just because of our conflicts of how we approached a role,
Yeah,
he was
your creative differences.
He wanted to ruin my chances of getting anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a dark impulse.
It's just this business is so hard because everyone's trying to make their mark. Everyone's trying to get credit. Everyone's like that director on the show wants something different so they can point to it and say like, that's my work. I'm the reason that X, Y, and Z happened. And like, it's bad. It's hard.
I think, obviously when you start in this business, there is the hope of making your mark and getting to a certain place and all that. But this kind of dynamic that I had experienced for so long has really changed the way that I think about my career and what I want. And I truly just want to do great work that I'm happy with.
Yeah.
And I want to live an easy, happy life.
Yes.
Like
yes.
I don't need to get to the next, echelon.
You turned down Deadpool?
Oh, wow. Wow.
You get X-Men at the same time, or was it either or?
It was X-Men after that. Deadpool, they wanted me for the wife.
Okay.
And Simon Kinberg reached out, and Ryan Reynolds sent me an email. And at that time, the stuff I was getting offered was always like the female character wouldn't exist if the male character didn't exist.
Right.
So I was like, well, there's a story, and I, and Ryan sent a strong pitch for it, but I was like, that's the whole thing of the morality thing. I was like, nope, I'm only going for these types of roles.
Yeah.
But, Deadpool became a huge hit.
Yeah.
Huge
And
hit.
just a great movie.
Yeah, it's all across the board.
So a big win.
Big win for
big
them.
win.
I mean, it's gone on a million times. They have so many like sequels to that.
And possibly they keep getting better too.
But you can't feel too bad about that because you had a reason. And that reason was real. It wasn't like they didn't offer you enough money. Okay, well, or not.
No. I've heard people say. I heard Amanda Seyfried say the other day that she turned down some big role, and I don't know which one it was, but it was a really big movie. And she was like, "But I don't regret it because that's what I needed to do for that time in my life."
Yeah.
It's because I made decisions based off of like this thing in me that was like, nope. I didn't really think through those. That's why
Right.
I think on certain things that I've done, I'm like, what was I thinking?
What was I trying to prove?
Yeah.
Yes, I was locked. I made a lot of my decisions locked into this, coming from a place of feeling less than.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
Now, of course, I knew you had breast cancer. That's
because I told you guys.
You told us, yes, and but I guess I hadn't realized until today, until I was learning more about it, is that you had gotten a negative mammogram, you had gotten a negative ultrasound, you were negative for the BRCA gene, and then you took this test, the cancer.
It's called the Lifetime Risk Assessment Test. It's for breast cancer. It's free. It's online. It takes minutes. You don't even have to put your email in.
So it's a questionnaire.
It asks you like, have you had children? How old were you when you had your first child? How old were you when you had your period? Anybody else in your family have cancer, breast cancer? And then it gives you this percentage, and anything above 20% is considered high risk.
You were 37?
37.3.
What even prompted you taking that?
My doctor, Dr. Thais Aliabadi, she is an icon. There's no other doctor that I know that's like her. She is so proactive. She spends so much time with you. And she says, I do this thing called the lifetime risk assessment test. And my score came out high.
Yeah.
And so she said, go get an MRI. When I had come out about this test and it just reached so many places around the world.
But the test went up by 4,000%, people taking the test after you talking about it.
And she called me crying and saying, this has been my mission for my whole life.
Wow.
And I knew that it wasn't something that people knew about.
Yeah.
But I had no idea it was like such a passion of hers and how much it would save my life and so many others.
Yeah. So once you go and get an MRI, it's just for starters, I guess I'm shocked that like you have to get to MRI level before that would be discovered. Yeah. But once you get an MRI, what do they find?
So I go in and the radiologist calls me that same day and he says, I think there's something on your right breast and I want you to go get an ultrasound. So then I go get the ultrasound and then the doctor there is saying, I think I found 2 more.
Oh, wow.
So then they go in right now to get a biopsy.
Yeah.
And they were concerned because with breast cancer, they think of your breast as a quadrant. So imagine an X right through it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have multiple tumors in one section, that's not as abnormal. But now mine was multi-quadrant and multifocal is multiple ones. So multiple ones, so multi-quadrant, multifocal.
Oh, wow.
And
multiple ones in multiple quadrants.
Exactly.
Got it.
And so I get the biopsy and they said, let me take a few days to get it back to you. And Dr. Thais Alibadi's office called and said, come in to see her.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, it's cancer. It's stage 1. And it's not normal for it to be in this many areas. So I'm going to guess that it's in your other one too. And I had called different friends of mine who were doctors around the world because I was just like, tell me something good. And they were like, there's no way it's bilateral. Like, it's so unique and you're too young. And like,
right.
You know, I go, but I have it in this site. They're like, yes, we know, but no. And then my surgical oncologist went back to my original MRI and he said, I think there's something there. And then they have me do an MRI biopsy, which is like you're lying down on this machine and you go into this thing and then they literally have
they're watching where the
robot, they kind of position it, they circle and the robot goes in and takes it and comes back out.
God.
Yeah.
Wow.
Then they call and they said, now it is bilateral, multifocal, multi-quadrant breast cancer.
God.
Yeah.
Now, really quick, I do imagine most people who get a diagnosis have felt some kind of symptoms. It must have been such a shock. You couldn't have been feeling.
No, not at that place.
That's almost scarier because
Yes,
then you're like, God, my
scary.
body won't even tell me when it's.
Was so scary for me because I realized, you know, like when you realize how lucky you are, but you're still so scared of like you're like, holy, like you're just like still like the aftermath of being like.
Yeah, if you're about to fall in front of a bus and someone rescues you, sure you have
like,
gratitude, but then
fuck.
you're also going through the panic of like, you can see what that was.
And also I'm like, fuck, did this come out, you know, of my breast and gone to anywhere else in my body?
And you already had Malcolm.
I had Malcolm, he just
So now the
year.
stakes are 1,000,000 times higher.
As you
like
know.
I've not valued my life at all until I had kids.
Yeah, 100%. And after they did my double mastectomy, they do this thing called margins where they take the tumor and they have the tissue and they look to see how far out it goes before they clear margins. So they go like, oh, you had clear margins after, you know, X amount of
centimeters.
Exactly.
Or
So they ended up finding a tangerine-sized section of more cancer.
Oh my
That
God.
wasn't-
Tangerine.
God.
This just happened to a friend of mine where it's like she went in for one thing, they got in there, and then lo and behold, it had grown all the way up into her
Oh my
armpit.
gosh.
Yeah. And it
Yeah.
was enormous by the time they.
How are they not catching this earlier?
You know, mammograms are amazing. They have saved countless lives. But
They're not perfect.
they're not perfect.
Yeah.
That's why Dr. Alibadi talks a lot about AI in the medical field. She's like, they can spot it way before a doctor can with the naked eye. And, and you know, with mine, it's a fast-moving, aggressive kind of cancer. So that there is a reason why it was all over.
Yeah.
Right.
And I wouldn't have another mammogram for a year because I just had it.
Oh,
So I don't know how much it would have spread, like your friend.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Like what stage it would be at. And that determines your path forward or counting days. You know,
Mhm.
there's so many people who are given this diagnosis and don't have the opportunity to fight. They literally are given like a calendar and been like,
Yeah.
here are your days left.
Yeah.
And I'm just so grateful that there was a path forward for me.
Yeah. Did you have to do chemo at all after?
You know, because it didn't make it to my lymph nodes.
Oh, okay.
And specifically because I opted for a full double mastectomy,
Right.
like with both breasts. So some people do lumpectomies.
Uh-huh.
It's a much easier procedure.
Mhm.
But because I had so much, I wanted to be really aggressive, and I didn't have to do radiation either, because when you
Okay.
do lumpectomy, you've got to do like radiation at least.
When I was taking my dad to chemo, I was expecting to walk into this chemo facility and see a bunch of people like my dad, like heavy smoker men. He was almost always the only man in there, and it was just all young women.
Oh,
and I was just
wow.
like, oh my God, this is so much more epidemic than I gave it credit for.
Yeah.
And it's young.
I remember going into there's so many doctor's appointments. There's so many. And when I would go into, like after my surgeries, I go into the oncology section. It's like, it's shocking how many like people you see there that are sickly, like actually look sick.
Yeah.
You know, it stops you in your tracks. And especially when you're somebody going through it, you're looking at like what could be you.
You're on the same
Yes.
highway and they're at like
And
a
you're
different
like,
exit.
and I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, fuck, am I going to be exiting off on their exit?
Yeah,
Oof.
yeah.
It's happening more like it's getting younger and younger. Breast
Yeah.
cancer. There's like a new wave of cancers that are affecting younger people,
Yeah.
and it's so scary.
It is scary. And I think that's why early detection, it matters so much.
Yes.
And you've had 5 operations as a result of this?
Yeah. I had a lymph node dissection to check my lymph nodes.
Uh-huh.
I had a nipple delay, and a nipple delay it's elective, but it gives me a better shot of keeping my nipples, because when you do a mastectomy, you cut through like blood vessels, and
Right.
that is bringing oxygen to your nipples.
Yeah.
And so they do this special surgery that
They're cutting around all that essential.
No, you're doing something. I'm going to say it wrong, but like you're doing something to the blood vessels to like open them up and make them stronger,
Oh, okay.
so that you do it 10 days before your mastectomy,
Uh-huh.
and that way it's like you have a better shot, which worked for me.
Yeah.
Wow.
Then I had the double mastectomy. Then I had reconstructive surgery,
Uh-huh.
and then the medicine that I was on had to reduce my ovary hormone production.
This is where they force you into menopause.
So yeah, I'm still on another medication. That's why I have like that rash on my leg, and I've had
uh-huh.
hives, and I have like exhaustion, and
Ew.
and that's why also, I spend a lot of time, in bed and on the couch, but I'm like really trying to like just ignore it and be like, it doesn't matter, and keep pushing forward. But
Yeah.
the one that I first took was Lupron. It's a monthly shot, and it's a bully.
I had to take that for egg freezing.
You did?
Yeah.
I did egg freezing. I don't remember it, but
I
I
had
guess
to
it would make sense because it messes with your ovaries.
Yeah.
How many eggs did you get? You mind me asking?
No, of course. I did it twice. I did not have good results. I had 2 eggs the first round and 7 the second round.
Okay.
So I have 9 total. It was not a great experience for
Oh,
me.
I'm
I mean, I'm
sorry.
glad I got
Which
what I
doctor
got.
did you use?
I went through USC, the Keck.
Okay.
Dr. Kevorkian.
Have you heard of it? Yeah. I mean, and it was one of those things. I was like, well, do I do it again? Do I do it again? Like, how many times do I do this to like accumulate all these eggs? And then I was just like, this
Just
is it.
you
If
do
it
it
happens, it
and-
happens.
yeah.
If it doesn't, it
We got
doesn't.
10.
Whatever.
Mhm.
9.
Yeah. But
Oh,
I
yeah.
decided to do an oophorectomy, which is a procedure that takes out my ovaries, which put me immediately into a surgical menopause.
Yeah.
And a hysterectomy?
I also had a hysterectomy. I had my uterus and fallopian tubes taken out because I was like, you know what? Like, I just want to mitigate the risk that I get cancer somewhere else. And those are big
Yeah.
places to get
Yeah.
cancer. And if I had any signs of HPV on my cervix, I would have taken that out too. But your cervix, if you take out your cervix, you have a higher chance of prolapse.
Oh,
when you get older.
interesting.
Yeah.
Mhm. That kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the tether holding everything up
Yeah.
at the
Or
top.
it's like the cap.
Yeah.
So when you have a double mastectomy, you have to get your breast implants have to be circular.
Okay.
Because when you have an augmentation, they can do like Kylie Jenner just talked about, like, it's a teardrop, half under, half over the muscle. It's a whole thing, and which makes it look natural. But if it's oval and if it turns, then you've got the oval going horizontal, right?
Sure.
Right.
So they have to do round so that they can spin in place.
Yeah.
If they need to spin.
In the event that spinning's required.
Yeah. And the event that I'm breakdancing, they usually have to go larger than what you would ever want because you have to fill up with breast tissue and all of that, right?
Yeah,
if not, you're going to get, like, they're going to just kind of hang down. And so I had begged my surgeon, like, go as small as you can. Like, I don't care if there's like, because you can sometimes see the implant through your skin and it kind of looks like this like pulling, wrinkling kind of thing. But I was like, I don't care. And John wouldn't care. So I was like, I just don't care. And so he told me that he was in surgery and he put the smallest one in, and they turned to his assistant and he said, I think we can go smaller. Because the last thing I said I was going into that surgery was, please go smaller. Actually, maybe the last thing, John has this video of me because it was so funny. And I was like, I had just read a book on Jackie O. And I was talking about Jackie O had so much anxiety. She just had so much, she just lived this hard life. And I turned to the anesthesiologist and I go, you look like you don't have anxiety. Like, you look like you're pretty good. Like, I think, and then John was like, oh my God. So he starts recording. And they're wheeling me out, I was like, yeah, okay, I'll see you later. And John was like, bye, I love you. And I went like this. And I just threw up the peace sign. It's like, deuces, I'm out. Yeah.
I'm high and I'm out.
Gosh.
So are you on like the creams and stuff that everyone who's talking about menopause now is saying like we all need to be doing?
Well, she can't, right?
Exactly.
Oh.
But there are a lot of things that I can do to combat the symptoms of menopause. I can't put hormones in my body, which means like testosterone, there's a testosterone in our body that turns into estrogen. And that can really exhaust me to have that depleted. And I can get aches and pains, and I get hot flashes and the chill, which is like a kind of a cold flash.
Yeah.
And then the medicine can give me like hives and rashes.
Yeah.
At first, I was so frustrated with it. Last year, I went from being exhausted and was like, I can't do this. Try this medication. So angry. I had the shortest fuse.
Irritable.
Yeah.
Everything that I was mad about, I would say was justified, but the way I went to it, normally I'd be like, oh, this is annoying. It was like, this is not okay.
Unacceptable.
Yes, like, and just like so mad. On our flight home after having our daughter, and I had felt this way, even to the birth of her, I was like, I broke down crying, and I hadn't really said this to John because I hold a lot of stuff like that in.
Yeah. Well, you got to be strong or people will take advantage of you.
Yeah. And I remember just like looking at him and I was like, can we talk? And I just broke down crying. I said, like, I am in so much pain and I don't know how to stop. And I said, I don't like being angry. But I feel it all the time. And I said, he's like, do you ever feel happy? And I said, because it seems like you've been happy. Like when our daughter's born, I go, yes. There are times when I'm happy.
Yeah.
But even when I was happy, I felt like I had my hand on a door and there was a monster trying to get in at any moment.
Yeah.
So even though I was happy, it was ever present.
Yeah.
And that's why anything could set me off. You'd be like, and so then I said, I don't think I can do this anymore. And I think I'm going to have to roll the dice and hope that, it doesn't come back. Because you're supposed to take this for 5 years. And, he said, let's think about this. Let's go to your oncologist. And then she brought me onto another medication that gave me full-blown anxiety. Like physical anxiety. I couldn't take full breaths. And so then I have decided to go back to exhaustion.
That's
So
the
original
lesser
one.
of
The
all
3
evils.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was like, okay.
We had an expert on it. And she told us that the percentage of women who attempt suicide is the highest during perimenopause.
Wow.
Because of that, because there's like so much happening with your hormones and anger and sadness, like, and no one knows like that. That's what's happening.
My postpartum was extremely difficult. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd put it at 100, and I'm not kidding. I'd wake up every day at 4 a.m. gasping for air, and feel a tightness in my chest all day long. And I felt like it was like I felt like I was like not even dying. I felt like I was being like the feeling if you're afraid.
Yeah.
Like you're like, oh my gosh, like that's what I felt like all day long. And I found out later because I couldn't make breast milk, as I told you guys. So I decided to stop completely because I was like, it's so much processed.
Yeah,
too.
it's just guilt and
Exactly.
self-hatred.
And I was like, I'm going to give him formula and I'm going to be happy about that. And fuck everyone else who's telling me that I can only feed my baby with one certain way. And I was like, every mother should do whatever they need to do to feed their babies and not feel any guilt. But when you stop breastfeeding, your hormones drop.
Right.
And if you wean off like a lot of people do, it's not going to hit you. But I went from breastfeeding, even if it was a little bit, to not.
Yes.
And that's what spun me into my spiral.
Yeah.
And I didn't even talk about it. And it also goes into that another topic, which is like, you know, when you open yourself up to people asking you questions or like speculating on your life, it's like, how much did you like share? And then are you allowed to share, but then expect privacy at the same time?
Right. Yes, that's the dance you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be open with you, but I want to control the reaction to my openness.
It's also like with your relapse, right? Like you're like, you know, you talk about it so much on the show, and then you've gone through something so personal that you had a lot of shame about, and you're like, well, do I talk about this? Am I ready to talk about this? When do I talk about this? Like, you know, do I owe this to anybody?
Right.
You know, and so like I've already invited them in. I've already talked about this so much. So.
Yeah, I think I had already crossed that bridge, which is why it felt like I didn't really have a
choice.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. If I were to have any integrity, I couldn't be receiving all the praise for it.
You know what you said? You said something to me, and I was with Bradley in Paris. You said something to me then that really opened my mind in a different way, and it stays with me, and I think about it often. You're talking about addiction and how at one point you were going from like girl to girl and new girl, and you're dating a new girl, and you had this epiphany, or maybe somebody told you that you keep looking for this high of something new.
Right.
And you are chalking it up to, but I want a new experience, and I want to experience new things in the world, in the life. But you are not getting the same, you are not getting a new experience. It's the same experience.
Over and over.
You're just, you know, putting in a different person.
Yeah, it's the illusion of novelty.
Exactly. And you said, what I've never done before is stay in a relationship for X amount of years. What I've never done is walk my daughter through the park.
That trip where we saw each other was like, Kristen was about to have Lincoln in March and we were there in January. So it was like, oh, this will be the very last time I can go see a buddy in another country. It was that kind of trip. Yeah.
So, and I don't think that we knew that she was pregnant, or I don't think it was in the world that she was pregnant.
No, probably not.
Yeah. And so I remember when you said that, and I thought, oh, that's right. Like when you're doing the same things, you think that you're doing something different, but you're just doing, it's the same experience. And then soon after that, at some point I'd heard that you guys had the baby, and it really impacted me. You were imagining yourself, but I think that's a big part is like, can you imagine yourself doing something different? And if you've already set your mind on, I do this,
right,
you're only going to do that.
Yeah. And drinking had that too. Is like I'd be at the bar and I've gone there to have a novel experience. I've had my normal day. Now I want to go have a fun drinking day. And I'm at the bar and I'm reading the fucking label on the Budweiser bottle for the millionth time because I'm bored. And I'm like, oh yeah, there's nothing novel about it. If anything, it's like guarantees that I'll never do anything differently again.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
that
that's
was
delightful.
really impactful.
That made me so happy that
I'm happy.
you liked that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about Friends and Neighbors. I love it.
You do?
It's fucking awesome.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's so good.
Thank you so much.
And then I'm wondering, do you have this thought too? It's like, I love it. It's about the 1%.
Yes.
Everyone has a perfect house. Everyone's got a rad car. Everyone's they're a member of a club and the whole nine. And I find myself uniquely interested, or I think it's uniquely interested because I know a lot of rich people now. Like that's interesting to me. I know. And yes, the happiness didn't tick up.
The themes of our show about how money doesn't buy happiness, and how just a complete blind ambition can upend this constructs of, wealth and privilege or loyalty or religious beliefs. When you are just blinded by something you want.
Yeah.
I think that we all have experienced that.
Yeah.
And so I think in that people can connect too, but I think the overarching kind of world that we're in, it's meant to be a peek into a world that most people can't see.
Well, what I like about it is it has a second gear, which is, and this was lightly explored it was explored in White Lotus too, which is, it's really crazy to have both the realization and the knowledge that it doesn't feel good and an insatiable desire to protect yourself from losing it. That's what's so fascinating to me is the second part, because you and John Hamm's characters are both in this situation where you're on the verge of losing your access to this world, which you've already been disillusioned by. Right. We know it in John's narration at the beginning. He just talks about the treadmill, and it's so familiar to everyone. You get the promotion and you constantly move to places to make yourself poor again. And then you're finally at the place where you're not poor. And so he's disillusioned. He knows, and yet he can't lose it. And then you're getting divorced. You were married to a rich dude.
Yeah. And and my character is the only person who wasn't born into wealth. The way that Jonathan Tropper explained it to me when I first spoke with him about it, he said, these people are the ones who go to the right high school, go to the right Ivy League college because their parents went to that same Ivy League college. And because their dad knows this hedge fund guy, you get to have this really great job at this hedge fund.
Yeah.
And everything is set up for success for them.
Yeah. The whole elite treadmill.
Yeah. He goes, then you get the big home, then you get the big vacation home, then you get this car and that car and this watch. And there's this fragility of appearance that people aren't acknowledging when they have everything, and how quickly it can slip away.
Yeah.
And my character is like, and John's character is really examining how far someone will go when they lose it all.
Yeah.
In order to get it all back.
Yeah.
And my character, I was like, I thought it was interesting because she's come from a blue collar upbringing. So she knows how to live without this.
Yes.
Right.
But now that she does, it's like
Can't go back.
You can't go back. They always say that like in your 20s, you're like, you're not, you're kind of like figuring things out, but you're off the mark. By your 30s, you're like finding yourself. And by the 40s, you're like, you got it.
Yeah.
And I wish that wasn't as true as it is.
Yeah.
And I just have to go, like with my children, I want them to have struggles because that's the only way to learn. However, I want to be able to tell them like, hey, like, don't spend as much time on relationships as I did. Like, fuck that. Like, it's not good. But then they need to.
Yeah.
But I think if I was given more of a heads up, I think I would have made different choices and the lessons wouldn't have taken so long.
I don't know though.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've been, I guess there's no way to know, but I don't think so. I think someone can tell you everything and you just got to do it.
Yeah. I mean, you are right about that. But I like to think I would have done things differently.
No, I know that even, like, I'm so stubborn. I know that even if I had a time machine and I personally went back to Dax at 28 and told him the truth, 28-year-old Dax would not give a fuck.
Yeah.
I just want
if you Back to the Future did, it wouldn't matter.
Also, you wouldn't be you without those things. That's the irony of all of it. That's how you get to the place
I don't believe that, this is in the same vein of everything happens for a reason, which I strongly do not believe in.
Yeah,
I don't
not
believe
a fan
in
of
that either.
Yeah, and so some people, like, when I've been in relationships for too long and I've had friends go, but that's how much time you needed to like figure things out. And I go, fuck that. I actually knew in a year in.
Yeah.
But
we know
my own
quick.
personal drama led me to stay in that. And that is something that I think that if I had been aware of what childhood trauma does to you earlier, I would have made different decisions because I know people who make the decision I wish I would have made. So it's clearly possible.
Yes. I throughout this entire interview, another projection I'm making onto you
I love it.
Is I think you have a huge fear of the other shoe dropping.
Yes.
And I have that too, where it's like when it's happy, that's weirdly the most dangerous time for me. When there really is a villain, which I've been hypervigilant and preparing for, I've been practicing that. I know how to handle that. But happiness is like, oh, I know what's next. Every time I was happy,
something bad comes.
Yes. And I think that's as hard to shake, and maybe even I think harder to shake than the whole financial insecurity thing. That's a rough one.
100%. And I feel like that when I was diagnosed, like I didn't realize this till afterwards, like about a year afterwards or so. When I got the diagnosis, immediately the negative thoughts in my head, I dropped all of that, because when you are diagnosed with cancer, you have one job. You have one job.
Yeah. It streamlines your priorities pretty quickly, right?
And that's all your mind is thinking about. And you're like, how do I get through this? How do I get through this? How do I live? How do I survive? Because there's no way to climb Everest with extra baggage on your shoulders. And I'm like, oh, now that I got to the other side, I can't imagine picking it back up. However, thoughts creep in.
Yeah.
You know, your old behaviors and old thoughts and patterns creep in. Years ago, I was in this almost plane crash situation, and I was on The Daily Show. And I remember I got back to The Daily Show like a few days later, and I was telling John this story. And he was like, what did you do in that moment? And I said, well, when I saw the flight attendant drop to her knees, crying, holding on as the plane was like shaking.
Oh boy. They're like the parents
yeah.
on a flight. If they start crying, you know you're really fucked.
Yeah. The oxygen things come down. It was the whole thing.
The platinum package.
Yeah. Extreme fear unlocked.
Yeah.
And then once I kept saying to myself, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I don't want to be a plane crash. I don't want to be in the plane crash. And then it was like, oh, wait, I don't have an option. This is happening.
Yeah.
And then the first thing I did was I had a BlackBerry, and I removed the battery from the phone because we were above the water. And I thought, when we get into the water, I want to be able to put my phone back together to call for help.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And John,
that's some real clear thinking.
And John said, and he knew I had a lot of anxiety because I had talked to him about it. And he said, you see, when it mattered most, you didn't have anxiety. You didn't panic. And I was like, oh my God, like, when it mattered most, I didn't panic.
We suffer, we suffer in our imagination more than we suffer in real life.
Yeah, we were just talking about this with someone else. Anxiety is about the future. You can't have anxiety in the present. When you are dealing with something that's right now, there's no anxiety. You're just dealing.
Yeah.
You just handle your business.
So that's what cancer did for me. It put me in I could not think about it. Was literally one step at a time.
Yeah.
Right.
So when I have the thoughts that creep in, I think very quickly about, like, let it go.
Yeah. Back to the whole money thing. I think someone could easily make an argument that, yes, me waiting for the shoe to drop, like it has to drop, I made it drop. Like, I don't think it's a coincidence I relapsed shortly after the money thing.
Yeah. Interesting.
It's like, I don't trust this. This is too good to be true. Again, none of this would ever be conscious, but it's just interesting that I kind of orchestrated a shoe dropping.
It's a self-sabotage. It's like, I can't lose it. So you kind of push the limit to see, can I?
It's like, I already know it's going to happen, so let me do it now.
Yeah, rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to happen, so like, why sit here and be anxious about it happening?
Yes.
Let's
let it happen now.
Let's have the fight. Let's have the confrontation. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about, because I did not put in enough time on Your Friends and Neighbors, again, because I love it. I really, really love it. There's this interesting thing going on. So it's examining the haves and the have-nots, and also the one percenters and the insanity of all of it, and then trying to hold on to it even if you don't like it. That's all so fertile and juicy. The other thing that I find maddening is John Hamm's character. He and his wife have become divorced, which, let's give Amanda Peet a shout out. I think she's so fucking great in it. Your guys' scenes are so fun, and the dynamic that you guys have to play where you're his new girlfriend and she's the ex, all that stuff is so good. And I'm glad that you guys have a relationship.
Yeah, we connected right away.
She's radical.
She's so
I love her. But he just is marching through life and he's vindicated. She cheated on me. She cheated on me. Can't fucking stop saying it. She fucked another guy. This is the guy who fucked my wife. And I'm watching that and it's maddening to me.
Why?
Because I think the notion that the only explanation for a divorce would be someone fucked somebody ignores like all of the things that really should cause a divorce, in my opinion. Like, were they completely isolated? Were they not meeting your needs? Were they not communicative? Were you alone with this person you live? Like, all of these many elements. But it goes back to the sense of justice. And I have my plot point. I have my court case, which is she fucked somebody. And if I have that, I don't have to even evaluate. Why did she fuck somebody? Did I play any role in that? Am I complacent in that at all?
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot more complications in any dynamic like that. My mom told me a long time ago when I was younger that she wishes that she had not let my father come back. She's like, she's like, because he already made this decision. And she even agreed. She's like, look, there were dynamics with us that didn't work for a marriage. Yeah. And she didn't tell me until literally last year when we were talking about one of my close friends who she knows very well and was going through a breakup and she wanted to get him back. And we were talking about it and my friend was there and she said something that she'd never said to me before, which I think would have been so impactful, not just in relationships, but friendships and work and everything. Yeah. She said, when someone has told you they want to break up, you have to let them go because they have already decided their life would be better without you. And I was like, oh, that kind, when you put yourself in their positions, instead of being like, you don't want to end this friendship. You don't want to end this relationship. You're casting the wrong person or, you guys want me. And like, what are you thinking? You've lost your mind. You're not thinking straight, or this is who I can be, or I can change myself.
Yeah.
It's too late.
You have to think about it from their position. Usually when someone does something, whatever it is, especially ending a relationship, a friendship, they have already done the thought process. This isn't a split-second decision, even if it was like maybe a day.
This is the verdict, not the court trial.
Yes. When people have already decided that their life would be better without you, that is a big, big thing that they're saying.
Yes.
That is true, and it is totally valid. But I also think Kristen and I, years ago, we were asking people, would you rather your husband or your wife cheat on you or drive your kids while they're drunk?
I mean, cheat on you.
You would hope that would be the answer.
What did most people say?
Most people chose drive the kids drunk.
That is rough.
And to me, that put into perspective a little bit. I think if you listed 10 things you wanted in a partner, it'd be funny, intelligent, dependable, all these things. And as you found yourself in a marriage with them, and then faithful, and as you found yourself in a marriage with them 10 years later, it's shocking to me that people will let like 8 of those things completely disappear, go unnurtured, unfixed, and they'll live with that. And that's fine. They can accept that. But then this other thing happens, which is also on the list, fidelity. And that is something that can't be overlooked, can't be worked out, can't be.
Well, yeah, you're right. I definitely understand what you're saying because all of that under that umbrella is coming from like some kind of pain or insecurity or
insecurity,
but also a feeling of not being safe. I don't think we're giving enough credit to that. That's what we're all just trying to get safe, have safety. Yeah. And so like the idea that someone could cheat or fall out of love with you or fall in love, like that, it's all so tenuous that actually like love and relationships are very tenuous is scary. It's makes you feel very unsafe.
But in this show, Your Friends and Neighbors, at one point, John asked his ex-wife if she's okay. Simply, are you okay? He can observe that she's really rattled. And she basically says, in our entire marriage, you never asked me if I was okay one time. And so for me, if I get to pick whether Kristen fucked somebody and I never knew about it in Atlanta versus she never asked me if I was okay for 10 years, I would definitely pick her fucking someone in Atlanta.
That moment I thought was interesting too when I was reading the scripts. It's like, you never asked me. And I always think, well, I mean, even in real life, like I've had that in relationships. Like, well, you never asked me this. I'm like, is that a thing? Like, why? Like, then you tell me that you want me to talk to you.
I can't read your mind.
Yeah. And also what I think is important, the other day I said that about, something in my past that I was like, that was coming up in the present. And I was like, well, you've never asked me more about this. And he was like, he clocked and he's like, oh my God, I'm sorry. Because I wanted to receive it from you.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be there to listen to everything. And I was like, yeah, but I need you to ask me more questions about it to kind of open
the ball
it up.
rolling.
Yes. And
help
kind
me.
of help me.
Yeah.
And he didn't realize that.
Yeah.
And so now he talks about it and he brings it up in just random moments. But like, how would he, like you said, like how am I, he can't read my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like, so that dynamic I think is, so what you're saying, well, yeah, he hasn't been for this long, but I'm saying, well, she allowed it to go this long.
She should have said, that's a need I have.
Yeah.
Please meet it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then if she stated it and he didn't address it, which is often happens in relationships.
Yeah.
I just think it's interesting what we're willing to overlook and what we're not. I find that to be a fascinating,
that question to people is really
asymmetric.
fascinating.
Yeah. I know people who've gotten divorces. They hated their partner for like 6 years, and then one of them cheated, and then they're out. I'm like, well, you should be out, but you should have been out 6 years ago.
Yes. Well, sometimes maybe it just gave them the excuse.
Yeah.
Like someone needs to have a big break.
Exactly.
So that a big break in moral, so that you can say this is not okay.
We need a blow for the scene.
It's hard. It's hard to just be like, we're not good anymore. That's a really hard thing for people to come to terms with. I think it's much easier to be like, yeah, this big bad thing happened. So,
I've thought about like why I would stay in uncomfortable situations for so long, even if I was actively talking about how miserable I was.
Yeah.
I was like, it's kind of like our posture, right? Like, so when you hunch over or you sit like this, if somebody tells you to sit up straight, and you try to sit up straight, it's kind of hard on your muscles and you're like, this feels weird. This doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
So you naturally want to go like this because this is more comfortable.
yeah.
But as you slouch and you're in this more comfortable position, because you haven't strengthened your back muscles, you will keep hunching over and over and over. And as you get older, you'll keep hunching over.
Yeah.
So to do the more uncomfortable thing is the right thing to do. But we so often spend our time in things that are comfortable
in the short term.
in the short term.
It's crazy how much of our life is governed by avoiding just a bit of discomfort.
Yeah, it's really true.
Well, this has been spectacular.
This is so much fun. I have been listening to you guys
so
for
much.
years. This is I have to say, I love your new space.
Oh, thank you.
It's very, very pretty.
But you missed the attic.
No.
Oh, good.
I thought there was a
I
butt
thought it was going the
coming.
other way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Visually, the attic was a lot for me to take in. Well, thank you for coming to this therapy session.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
The door is right there.
We
You can see
appreciate
yourself
it.
out. Please take some Pellegrino.
Well, I'm so delighted there's a season 2 because I love your show and
Well,
you're
thanks.
fantastic on it. All right, Olivia.
Love you guys.
Adore
Thank
you.
This has been so
much.
fun.
back.
Yes, come back.
Okay. Tomorrow?
Come back in an hour.
I sure hope there weren't any mistakes in that episode, but we'll find out when my mom, Mrs. Monica, comes in and tells us what was wrong.
It's the last day of school.
Oh my gosh. Did you wake up with a spring in your step?
Yeah. I did.
Yeah.
I woke up like it was the last day of school, and I was like, maybe I'll wear a wacky outfit. Sometimes you wear a wacky outfit on the last day of school. Like you wear pajamas to school.
Yes.
I thought about wearing my pajamas, but then I thought, no, I'm gonna probably go get lunch after I'm gonna be free after. And I don't think I should wear pajamas to wherever I go. What if I go to Sunset
afterwards.
Tower?
And you don't want, well, also cool.
It could be
You know
cool.
that broad, she wears pajamas, like she's eccentric. That's what people
Oh,
would
that's
say.
what they would
Yeah, you like always wear pajamas to Sunset Tower.
I have an update for people. The hotel canceled my reservation.
They did.
Yes.
How did it all shake out?
I have to double check to make sure that the credit card charge is removed, but They did cancel it.
Okay,
and I am
good.
very, very, very appreciative.
Yeah.
I feel that I can return
as
to
a
Rosewood as I like.
happy guest.
As a very happy guest.
Yeah.
So that was really nice. I feel guilty because I have a sense the show might be connected to that.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
Potentially it got back.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and you don't want to wield your powers selfishly.
I do want to, but
Yeah,
I
you
don't
should.
think it's fair for other people.
Well, this is the age-old debate.
Yeah.
It's this is like canceling prom because some people didn't get invited. It's like
Oof. That just hurt.
one person got refunded is better than no people got refunded,
I agree.
right?
I also think maybe this is just a twisted way for me to feel good about it.
Yeah.
But I do think when things like this happen,
Mhm.
sometimes it's a lesson for whoever is on the other side of this. Because you don't know
Yeah.
who anyone is, who you're fucking with. You
Yeah.
don't know who they will be. You don't know anything about them.
Right.
So you should just always treat people as if they have a podcast.
Yes. So I too woke up with that excitement, but also so many things to do to
Well,
leave in the
people don't
bus.
even know what's going on. So
We're going on our summer.
we have a summer kind of break.
I'm going in the bus up to Idaho.
Yeah.
And so there's a ton of packing that goes on in the bus.
Mhm.
And I've been completely not involved because we've been working so much.
Yeah.
So today we finish, and now I do all the bus loading that the family's been doing for 2 weeks. I'll do in a few hours because now I've decided I'm definitely leaving tonight.
Cool.
I'm very, very excited about being behind the wheel of the bus. I mean, I just can't wait. Especially, you know, my favorite thing about the bus is I'm completely unaccountable, and I love it.
What do you mean?
I'm driving a bus, so it's like I can't respond to an email. I can't respond to a
Yes.
text. I can't be asked to do anything because I can't do more than just drive the bus.
Yeah.
And my mental disposition is such that I need that kind of an excuse to really feel totally free. I just go like, oh, this is all I'm doing. Looking at scenery go by. What'd you do last night?
I did watch a little more last night of my sexy show.
Okay.
Now, my friend who told me about this sexy show, who I wasn't outing, said I could out her.
Oh, really?
Yes.
She wants to be known as a curator of sexy shows.
Yes, Kate Mara.
Kate Mara. Yeah.
Kate taught me about this sexy show, and we've been discussing it a lot.
Taught me. What kind of discussions do you have?
Mainly, like, I don't like doing this because I don't want to be negative, but I mainly we send voice notes, and I mainly say this show is bad, but I
Love it.
like it. Like, I want to keep watching it. It's kind of messing with my identity because I don't consider myself someone who hate watches things.
Right.
I guess I understand it, but it's not my MO.
Yeah. I've only had a couple of those.
You had a couple?
There's a movie that we hate so much that we committed to watching it once a year. We haven't upheld that commitment, but we did watch it many, many times. And it's on a certain day of the year we're supposed to watch it.
You did that?
Yeah. So I have one. And then, of course, The Room you're watching, in on the joke.
Yeah. But even that, like, I'm not someone who can keep going back to that. Like, fun for one time.
Right.
But that's good because there's too many good things to watch that I haven't watched.
Yeah.
But here we are.
Yeah.
Even though no one is redeemable. Like, I don't like either of the two main characters.
Do they have sex once an episode? Is it like a
so many
procedural in that you're going to get a shootout in a cop show? Like
every 5 minutes.
every 5 minutes?
I mean, there's multiple couples, so there's multiple sex scenes.
Wow. Do you have a favorite couple?
Well, in season 2, what I just started, there's a professor storyline.
Oh.
Made for me. And he is hot and he has an accent. He kind of looks like a foreign Bradley Cooper. He could be Bradley's
Interesting.
foreign cousin.
His foreign doppelganger?
Yeah.
From what country?
Easter egg. I'm not good at that.
Okay. Not
Europe,
England,
Europe.
though.
I think so.
Oh, you're not even good. You can't even say if it's an English accent?
For some reason, I think they're French based off of like maybe one of the episodes I was half watching, but he sounds English.
Oh.
So I don't know. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. He's a professor.
Absolutely doesn't matter.
He speaks
He's
the original
hot.
language.
He's a Welsh actor.
Welsh.
There you go.
That makes sense.
Sure, Great Britain.
It reminded me, I don't know if I should say this.
Okay.
I like really, I guess today it's like pants off, you
Yeah,
know? We're
sure.
saying everything.
Last day of school.
Because it's last day of school.
Yeah, you got to tell your crush you like them, your best friend, you love them.
Okay. It reminded me that this crazy thing happened in college. There was a professor, there were two professors, a man and a woman.
Yeah.
Sounds like the beginning of a riddle.
Yeah.
And they were new the year that my freshman year. They came in to the theater department.
Uh-huh.
One was an acting teacher and one was also in the theater department, but I don't know
In what capacity?
exactly. I forget. Like he taught something
Okay.
else. I had all my classes with the woman because I was an actor. And we also had a grad program that had, like 10 or 12, whatever, MFA students.
Uh-huh.
They were young,
Yeah.
obviously. To me, they were old.
Yes.
But in the middle of the year, one of the MFA students had an affair with the male professor.
Mm-hmm.
And the female professor found out.
Oh.
And they're all like, she's in her class.
Yeah.
It was so dramatic. And I might be making this part up. I don't think I am.
Uh-huh.
I think I knew.
Before it came out. Because you
Before
saw
she knew.
secret stuff happening between
I
them?
had an in with one of the MFA students. She knew
Okay.
because she was friends with the girl.
Yes.
And she told us.
What's your ethical position? Let's say this is a grad student.
Yeah.
So let's say there's a 23-year-old lady or
Right.
22-year-old woman.
Yeah.
And let's say the visiting professor was 30.
Right.
What are your ethics on this?
You mean like morally
Yeah.
age-wise?
Well, just the whole situation.
I mean, age-wise is not as
It's
much
immaterial?
of an issue. Yes. The issue is
Position of
position
power.
of power breach
Yeah.
mixed with he's married and has
Oh,
children.
I didn't know that part.
Oh, they're married. Sorry.
The two teachers?
Yes. Oh, that was a huge.
No. I thought it was just like a new professor.
No, the
They
two
were
teachers were
married.
married. They came in together and they had
no.
2 children.
Then the people that heard me say what's the morals of this think I'm insane. No, of course,
Sorry.
this is problematic.
They were married.
Okay.
And then he had an affair with one of the
Yes.
MFA students. And then this MFA student is in class with the wife.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Hard to get an A in that. but you
Hard to
gotta
get
be-
an A. And then there was like, I feel like there was like a rumor that like the teacher had a gun. I mean, I feel nervous talking about this
Yeah,
because
'cause
these
you're-
are still people.
And your details are like, you're not super certain on it. Like,
don't-
I
it
think
was-
you just said that one of the teachers had a gun. Is that what you were about to say?
Yes.
I mean, that sounds.
Listen, that was there was like a gun in her car.
Oh.
Like she started going, obviously,
Mm.
the female professor started going a little crazy because of this.
Yes.
Understandably.
Yeah.
And look, it was complicated. The MFA student, people are going to be mad at me for saying this, was wonderful. Like she was
Mhm.
such a nice person.
Oh,
she was
sure.
so
You don't have
lovely.
to be mean to have an affair.
Yeah, but people think that. And also like, okay, how do I say this? He was hot.
That's another one of your faces I'd be able to say if there were flashcards and it just had pictures of your face.
Yeah.
And I could say what was going on.
Yeah.
The face you just showed would be like, she's figuring out which details she's going to let out in this next sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
You were like running through. Okay.
Because I'm trying to.
So he was hot.
He was hot, the
Yeah.
professor. The woman. I felt like he was taking advantage of her.
Of the student or the wife? Or both?
Well, I guess both.
Yeah.
But the student, I know in my heart,
Mm-hmm.
she felt so like this hot person likes me. And that's hard to resist. Anyway, it's kind of all heartbreaking. But it was
Yeah.
dramatic and it was fun.
Sure. Yeah. Drama's fun.
In the drama department of all places.
Yes. Gossip's fun. We're kind of hardwired to like it.
And me and my friend who knew about it were
Felt-
really like keeping it was such an interesting thing to sort of follow.
Yeah, that's another weird thing we enjoy.
I know.
Unfortunately, it's like if we are in on a secret, most people aren't. We all like that.
Why do we like that?
I know, because I guess you're on the inside circle of something. Like maybe there's status somehow attached to it.
Or trust. You feel trusted.
Yeah. Trusted brand.
Very trusted brand. We were trusted. We didn't tell anyone, except now I'm telling a lot of people.
Right. But that was many years ago, and everything was probably. How did it end?
You tell me.
You don't know. The student stayed and got her master's. That you think they got a divorce during that semester?
Yeah, it was my senior year. This all happened.
Okay.
So I don't know what happened after that. My guess is they got a divorce. And she shot him.
Oh my God.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding, and that's not funny.
No, it's not funny.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
Okay, pivoting.
Yes.
I saw something funny. I mean, not that I want to give him any attention.
Yeah.
But I did see. Oh, I meant to save it, but I didn't. Fuck. It was a video of Trump talking about his very rich friend who's on the fat shot. Have you seen this?
Oh, I've sent that meme to people because it's got a quote from him. Yeah, he's like his friend who's super rich, but he says really 3 terrible things about his friend. Like most of his employees hate him. He's on that fat drug.
He keeps calling it the fat shot.
The fat shot. And it's working for him. But he says like 3 negative things about his friend.
Let's see if I can find it.
If you had a friend that described you that way.
Oh.
Trying to explain the weight loss drug disparity because that one's just so obvious. And in a way that only Trump can. Take a listen to Sot 1.
I mean, I'll tell you a story. A friend of mine who's a businessman, very, very, very top guy. Most of you would have heard of him.
Top guy.
A highly neurotic, brilliant businessman, seriously overweight.
Seriously overweight.
And he takes the fat shot drug.
He takes the fat shot.
And he called me up and he said, President, he calls me, he used to call me Donald, now he calls me President, so that's nice respect. But he's a rough guy, smart guy. Can I ask you a question? What? I'm in London. And I just paid for this damn fat drug I take. I said, it's not working. He said,
I said, it's not working.
I just paid $88. And in New York, I pay $1,300. What the hell is going on?
By the way, can you imagine if you were friends with the president? Like I have these ethical dilemmas. I have access to people and I would never, we interviewed Mayor Garcetti. And when we left, he said, here's my phone number. Of course, I would never, ever reach out to our mayor with any personal problem.
Of course.
At all. And the notion that I'd be friends with the president and I call, like, I got to get the president on the phone. I'm in England right now and I just spent $88 on my medication and I spent $1,300.
Yep.
Like bringing that small personal grievance to the president's attention.
Well, this is a very rough guy.
He's a rough guy.
And
he's a
severely
neurotic,
overweight.
severely
whatever
overweight.
he said.
Seriously overweight.
I was happy I was able to laugh because I did spend a lot of time yesterday being very angry.
Okay.
At the current state
administration.
Of this administration. I probably will have to cut this because I don't want to put anyone in danger. But I was very upset yesterday based on some information I got about the current situation here with deportations. But then I was able to laugh at he's just so ridiculous.
Yeah.
He's so ridiculous. My mom, I texted my parents about this update.
Yeah.
And, there was a whole flurry back and forth. And my mom referred to Trump as DT.
Oh, that's what she calls him?
I guess. That's the first time I've seen that.
She has a nickname.
And I got stressed out.
You didn't like that. What would you want her to call him? Just Trump?
Yeah, like
What
Rex.
about Maria, the orange president? If she said that, would that be?
That's also fine.
Okay.
But I prefer Trump because DT feels too like, this is YouTube.
Inside.
She's too YouTube-y.
Yeah, she's YouTube generation.
And then my dad responded by also calling him DT as a joke.
I guess they're doing it as a family.
His was a joke.
Okay.
It's so weird. God, God, role reversals. Like, it's so weird, my mom being on YouTube like this.
Yes, and you thinking she's on it too much?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, I need to police her screen time.
Yes. And you do.
I
She
do.
needs
It
some
doesn't
help.
work because I don't have power.
I had to have a very serious sit down with my mom about her news consumption, to her credit, because I also am of the opinion your parents are never going to change. It's always a waste of every syllable.
I know.
And it's just tension you don't need.
Yeah.
But with this said, my mother was in a state that I felt warranted for me to offer this unsolicited advice.
Yeah.
Anyway, she took it, and she has like cut her news consumption by like 90%.
That's
She's
good.
so much happier. It's crazy.
I know.
There are I've seen these studies pop up where it's like they have the empirical data that consuming more news is worse for your mental health.
Oh,
like
of
it's
course.
directly, yeah.
Of course. But it is interesting. We've had a few people on who've referenced older people on YouTube. And it's been like a clicking with me that this is a thing. They're all on YouTube.
I bet the growth is exploding because they're retiring.
Yeah.
Your mom just retired.
Yeah.
They have time and they have this phone in their hand and now they're figuring it out. And good for them. Old dogs, new tricks.
iPad.
I think what's interesting is people are really in the micro details of everything that happens in this country. Like you hear about something at any convenience store in any state. Now, I'm following Iran, Israel really closely. I read everything I can about it that comes out, trying to figure out like what is the overarching game plan.
Yeah.
And I'm finding my friends are largely not interested in that.
Yeah.
And I'm a little, I guess, judgmental. I'm like,
oh, no.
This one has real end life on planet Earth repercussions.
Things affect people differently. I think it's okay to
I'm following
pick your
accounts
battles.
that like they're on their 11th post about what's going to happen to the prices of gas in California.
Yeah.
And granted, we have way too much fucking tax on our gas here. It's
Yeah.
insane. It's going to go to $8. And it only punishes poor people. It doesn't, it's not the
Right.
rich people that give a fuck. They're in an electric car. So bad policy. I'm against it.
Mm-hmm.
But the notion that you'd have 10 posts about gas prices and you're not even interested in like a nuclear country at war with one that has expressed a desire to it's there's something very, very dramatic happening. And I don't think people are.
But they might not be getting served that information. They just might not even know, like, oh, there's something happening, but I don't really know.
That's my kind of point is like, we're so navel gazy that it doesn't make the algorithm. It doesn't make the.
That's why everything's fucked up.
Yeah.
This is the problem. He does create so much craziness that you don't know where to look and you get overwhelmed.
And that's what I'm always kind of raising. That's what I'm trying to raise a flag is like, it's pageantry and it's performative and people are falling for it.
Yeah. But it's also not because he has people who like he just says he doesn't know. He's just saying stuff. He's just saying what the person next to him is telling him to say.
Well, I think he's really great at dropping little bombs that he knows the liberals will wind up the whole machine about. I think he's definitely in on that. He knows how he's playing.
Oh,
that.
no, for sure. But I'm saying he doesn't really care. Like, do I think he personally cares about immigrants in this country? No.
No, I think
he knows it riles people up.
He definitely recognizes, this is the point I keep making. And again, anyone's being deported. I'm not trying to minimize it. It's absolutely horrible. But it's all symbolic. It's not a net increase in our deportations.
Currently.
And he knows we can't deport all these people that work in all these industries. Like he also understands the finances of it. He knows about farming. He knows about service and hotel.
Sort of. Then, so now he's in a weird position where he's trying to backtrack some and it's confusing.
Well, he wants both. He wants to put on a play where his base says, he's going harder than anyone's going after America, which is just not true.
But Stephen Miller is not him. I guess he like has people in charge that have real conviction about the thing itself. And that's what's scary, because I don't know.
Yeah, those underlings will have a longer attention span than him.
Exactly. Anywho, back to my mom real quick. I because I just spoke ill of her. I love her.
I love her. Nermi is the best.
She really is. And
she's a Southern woman. I love that about her.
Southern belle.
She is.
But listen, I've been thinking about her because we do so much revisionist history in our head about our families. and especially our parents, I think.
Yeah.
And I had all of a sudden this like memory pop up. I don't know how it happened, but maybe because ER, AIDS, all of that.
Yeah.
I remember that my mom and I used to watch it a lot together. Yeah, in her bed.
Uh-huh.
And then I was like, oh yeah, we used to watch like HGTV, all the shows, and we used to watch all these things. And then I would make her scratch my arm, and she would just scratch my arm for so long.
Yeah, we'll do that.
And I do have, which is so clear, it's unfair. I have this idea that there was like no affection.
Uh-huh.
But there was.
Yeah.
And I think that's
intimacy.
really not good that I forgot.
Yeah.
Like
I've done the same to my father.
It's so bad. Oh, and when I was home last, I got I took some old pictures, and there's like this picture, and I framed it. It's of my mom, and with her little baby, me, and she's like kissing me, and she's so affectionate. And
she loved her little Monica.
I know, she still does.
Yeah.
But it's just very like, you can't trust anything we think.
I know. And it's so unfair to everyone in our lives,
It's so unfair.
I know. I've been trying to think of as much time as I spend writing in my book, I spend time thinking of the foreword I have to write.
Yeah.
Because I need to say, like, these are 20 stories of literally 1 million.
Yeah.
And 999,000 of them were so fun and lovely and beautiful. And
I know.
But that's not what stories are made of. They're made of these 20 things I'm going to tell you. But it's in general, it's so unfair to my mom and my dad.
I know.
Because I'm just taking out the interesting bits that happen to be kind of dramatic.
Yeah.
And the vast bulk of all of it was just unadulterated love.
Yeah.
And I'm so lucky. Minimally, both of my parents were wild about me.
Yeah.
And some people can't say that.
A lot of people.
Yeah.
It's very upsetting. I feel bad. I feel really guilty.
Good. Keep watching your show.
My sexy show.
Yeah, focus on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Someone has a bad mom in that show. 2 bad moms.
Sure, they're usually a target.
Exactly.
I know.
So unfair.
I know. No good deed.
God. All right.
Want to do some facts?
Yeah, let's do some facts. Okay, so I looked up why malls are lit like that. A grievance.
Your grievance.
A grievance we all have.
A universal grievance. See, when you made it more specific, it made sense. It didn't make sense until you said the changing rooms.
Yeah, when you're trying on clothes.
When you say mall, I'm picturing the big corridor you're walking down, not the stores.
Well, it's basically this exact same lighting, and I don't understand that at all.
Maybe, how about this as reverse psychology?
Okay.
They want you to feel so ugly that you're like, I have to buy this thing to make myself feel better. And I need something to cover up how ugly I am. My dysmorphia. Because what is the incentive to make everyone look bad?
I don't know.
Yeah. Everything's a science now, isn't it? Like they must know you look bad.
Well, it might be part of why malls are shutting down all over the country. There aren't very many indoor malls left.
Well, I think that's online. That's.
But even the malls, I think that live are outdoor. Although they still have indoor
Michigan.
dressing room. Okay. There's a common perception that some malls have poor or unflattering lighting, and there are several reasons why this might be the case. Strategic design choices. Creating a specific atmosphere. Some retailers, especially those in high-end fashion or those aiming for a luxurious feel, deliberately use dim lighting. No, that's the whole point is that Oh, this is a good one.
Okay.
Encouraging impulse buys.
Oh.
Dim lighting can also subtly influence shoppers to prioritize pleasure over practicality, leading to more impulse purchases. I don't understand this because it's not
They're
dim.
saying it's low
bright.
light.
Yeah.
Because that makes you feel romantic / daring, throwing caution to the wind, tomorrow never comes vibes.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I don't buy that.
Yeah, okay.
I can't remember being in a dark changing room.
No, never. Fitting rooms. Many shoppers report that fitting room lighting can be particularly unflattering, often due to poorly positioned or harsh overhead lighting that casts unflattering shadows. Okay, so we still don't know why.
You just read what you said. Now it's been substantiated.
Yep.
Yep.
I mean, my leading theory is not the cause, but the effect is that malls are shutting down all over the country. And if they just fix this lighting, I wonder what would happen.
You got to wonder. It's definitely a cost-saving strategy.
The lighting?
Yeah. I mean, it's cheaper to have the shitty standard lights than...
Okay. She said OCD overlaps with hoarding. She said OCD overlaps with hoarding. It says, yes, they can overlap, but they are distinct conditions. It says hoarding can be a symptom of OCD and can exist as a separate disorder. If you guys missed the OCD episode... That was a really fantastic episode.
Absolutely.
And we recommend you go back in the archives.
Take a gander. Take a stroll.
Some have estimated that up to 1 in 4 with OCD also struggle with compulsive hoarding.
That's a high percentage.
I DM'd Olivia to ask her to send a picture of her uncles greased up.
Oh, yeah.
She didn't respond. Okay.
Okay, so let the record reflect. I certainly want to see that picture.
I know.
Yeah.
The doc, Last Days, she said it was called Last Days of Saigon or Final Days of Saigon. It's called Last Days in Vietnam.
Okay.
If you want to check that out.
Okay.
Okay, she said Amanda Seyfried turned down a big role, and then she said, she doesn't regret it because it's where she was in her life. Now, I'm seeing an interview of her talking about how she turned down Guardians of the Galaxy.
Who did?
Amanda Seyfried.
Oh, okay.
So I think that's the role she's talking about.
Okay.
And spoiler, ding, ding, ding. That's all I can say.
Oh my goodness.
Easter egg. It's an Easter egg.
That's a good one because I didn't even know what you were talking about.
But do you know?
Now I do.
It's an Easter egg for an upcoming episode. But also, hold on, I'm going to play a little bit.
This is special outfit will be worn.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
How soon we forget.
I know. Anyway, it was Guardians of the Galaxy.
Great.
Oh, the lifetime risk assessment test for breast cancer is it's on her Instagram in her bio, but it's also magview.com/BIS-risk-calculator. If you Google it, just go to the MagView one.
Okay. I don't have to take it.
I was going to do it. I don't know how long it is.
Yeah. Yeah, you should do it.
I mean, I'm going to do it for sure, but I was going to do it on here.
I just heard someone else's story, and I just, what I don't like about these stories is you think it would be detected, but it doesn't get detected.
It's really scary.
Like it's a miracle how some of these people end up getting detected.
It does seem like this is fast because there's just a little questionnaire, then family history, and then you get your results.
Wow. It's crazy that they could know that much off of.
I know. I did look up young cancer on the rise.
What'd you find?
And of course it is. Why are a growing number of young people under 50 being diagnosed with over a dozen forms of cancer around the world? The trend is especially worrying in women, according to statistics released in January 2025 by the American Cancer Society, which found that cancer incident rates in women under 50 are now 82% higher than their male counterparts, up from 51% in 2002. They said there's no single smoking gun. Environmental exposure, or multiple exposures. Yeah. Oof. Microbiome.
Bad microbiome.
Okay, nipple delay surgery. The nipple delay surgery is a procedure performed before nipple-sparing mastectomy to improve the blood supply to the nipple areola complex, the NAC. It involves a small incision to separate the NAC from the breast tissue, cutting some of the connections to small blood vessels. This allows the vessels in the skin to enlarge and strengthen, ensuring a more robust blood supply to the nipple when the mastectomy is performed. She had that. Oh, Kylie Jenner. She mentioned Kylie Jenner because Kylie just came out and told everyone about her breast augmentation. She said she has 445 cc moderate profile half under the muscle silicone. Garth Fisher hope this helps. LOL.
Wow, that's a lot of information.
Yeah,
that's a very specific procedure.
Exactly. Beverly Hills.
That sounded like a coffee order in Beverly Hills.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Oh, Jonathan Tropper is the writer of her show. Jonathan Tropper wrote "This Is Where I Leave You." You were in that movie.
I was in his I think his first movie that got made. This Is Where I Leave You.
How to Talk to a Widower. Everything Changes. Oh, those are books. Sorry. But no.
But no. But still no.
Actually, maybe movie. He wrote for Banshee, Warrior. I don't know. Anyway, great movie, great book. I read the book before I even knew you.
Oh, really?
And before I saw the movie. Yep. All right.
Them's the facts?
That is it.
All right. Love you.
Love you.